This episode is brought to you by Alberta Podcast Network. My name is Kenny Buller, and as the host of Second Floor Podcast, we are extremely proud to say that we are partners and affiliated with Alberta Podcast Network. Enjoy the episode. Welcome everybody to the show. It's your host, Kenny Buller, here on Second Floor Podcast. On today's episode, we bring to you the one, the only, Such in Motion, that is Sach Latti, all the way out from British Columbia. Sach is here with us today to talk about his journey throughout how he strategized, how he planned, and how he mentally and physically prepared for the longest run of his life. Sach has completed a 100-kilometer run, and yes, I repeat, a 100-kilometer run in one sitting in the span of doing it under 15 hours. Sach is someone that I personally know through the Jiu-Jitsu community. He's someone that I really strongly relate to, given that during the global pandemic, since it began, him as well as all of us, including myself, struggled to figure out what to do with our fitness, figure out what to do with our time. And he did something similar to myself that he didn't enjoy but knew was good for his mental and physical health, and that was running. On this episode, we talk about the benefits of therapy, getting, some element of mental help through a psychologist or through anyone who can really hear out your thoughts. And I love how Sach said in the episode that, we look for coaches for our physical health, or we look for anyone to help us in life. Why don't we do the same for our mental health? And he's someone that also has struggled with mental health in the past, and also has struggled with it in his own way, and looked at running and his journey for running for a deeper purpose, that being for veterans, where he raised over $20,000. He also, to this day, has mentioned that he has plans to run across the country of Canada to do this for veterans and create awareness. I mean, this is our modern day superhero in Canada, to say the least. We have Captain America, and now we have Captain Canada. Sach is the guy for this. But on a serious note, I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. For those of you who have been listening, thank you for continuously supporting us. For those that are new, Second Floor Podcast is your place and your go-to network to find out stories, find out influencers, coaches, professional athletes, anybody who has really started to see a 180 in their life through prioritizing their physical and mental health, and how they've been able to do that through some sort of fitness endeavor. Sach is one of our go-to guests who's learned how to survive and thrive and keep the good vibes going, not only in what he does through work, but also through what he does in life and health. Without further ado, let's dive in, guys. If this episode resonates with you, please, I highly encourage you guys, share this with a friend, put this out on Instagram, review us on Apple, iTunes, podcasts, you name it. We just want to continue to grow with you guys, and we know there's no other way but to really put that out there. So let's dive in and let's get Sach on the hot seat. Thank you, guys. All right, well, without further ado, we bring on the one and only Such in Motion, man. Welcome aboard to the Second Floor Podcast, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's first on-screen podcast.
I feel like with everything that you've accomplished lately, man, it's the first of many, right?
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see.
The backstory, I want everyone to be aware of this. I think just first and foremost, man, I want to just acknowledge you and respect the fact that our friendship goes back all the way, I think 3.5 years ago. Yeah. When I wanted to still keep up with jiu-jitsu practice when I was in Surrey, just, visiting for a weekend. And you were hands down, I believe from what I recall, the first person and the only person who decided to continue on our friendship, even knowing that I'm just another guy from out of town. Yeah. To this day, man, even I don't even do that in my own jiu-jitsu club. So to see that you took it an extra mile when I visited and caught up with me on Instagram, stayed in touch, got me in touch with Sergeant Seb, who was one of our previous guests, and just kept tabs. I could tell that you're someone, man, who clearly cares about other people's successes and journeys. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we get along is we look for those synergies and we look for those common, let's say, interests people have. And it's really cool to see how, 3 years now later, that led to us being really involved in each other's running journeys. And you were keeping tabs with me, seeing how I was doing when I ran the 50 kilometers, and you doubled down on that. And man, you raised $21,000 for veterans. You ran 100 kilometers just this past week.
Yeah.
And you took the time and money to fly out here in Edmonton to spend the weekend out with me. And so that way myself and our team with Run for Farmers can get to know you better. And just want to say, man, like, that's not normal, but that's like one of the kindest things anyone can do. And even with your mission that we're going to talk a lot about, and everything that I've got to learn about you over the weekend, it's so genuine, man. And I just want to let you know that you've got a place here in Edmonton that you can call home. And it's been cool, man, to be able to kind of reach this point now where we're sitting in front of one another and you're able to share your story, So I just want to acknowledge that.
Well, wow, man, I don't know what to say to that. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I wanted to keep in contact with you because I saw your character and I saw what kind of person you were. And I thought, I want to meet people like that. It doesn't matter age difference or where you live, or it makes no difference to me. So I want to meet people that kind of have like-minded as me. And I thought you were the same way, so I wanted to keep in touch. And awesome. No ulterior motives or anything. It was just keeping in touch.
Oh, totally. And I think that's the funny thing is you and me never would have reached a point now where we could both benefit from, let's say, you coming onto the show and sharing your story. I mean, we'll get into it today, and we'll talk about how both you and I took the pandemic and the fact that we couldn't train jiu-jitsu or really do anything, and we channeled our energy into something good.
Right.
And that was something that we both actually disliked. It was taking running, being the only option, and turning it into some community driven, let's say, aspect that led to connecting people together.
Which is funny that you mentioned that, because my kind of concept and vision came up differently than yours, and they kind of coincided. It's kind of, I don't know what the word would be, but it's kind of strange that it worked out that way.
This is a cool thing too, man, is like, I recognize we both created this concept of running for something. I think that was the coolest thing, is like your whole mission surrounding running 100 kilometers is running for veterans. And I think it'd be cool to just first start off with seeing how much that helped you run for a deeper, greater purpose than your own self. Yeah. Like when people try and find motivation, right? Like, oh, I'm unmotivated for my workout. Like, okay, let's put on music. Let's have pre-workout. Let's get a trainer, right? Those are all great things, right? But it's like, what did that look like for you? Where you running for veterans, the sole, let's just say, reason behind that is what led to you running another kilometer. Because a lot of what you did was different from my journey, where I needed other people around me, and I needed to think about farmers in India protesting to continue going. But you did all on your own, thinking of veterans along the way. So like, how much of that fueled your motivation to keep going?
It's not a quick answer, right? That's like a long sort of response to that. I was doing a lot of personal searching, right? I was doing a lot of introspection. I had gone through the last 3-4 years. It wasn't so easy for me. I've had a difficult time with various different things in my personal life. And, I decided I wanted to reflect on all the things that were going on in my life and how to move forward in a positive direction. So part of that was the running, because it assisted me with my mental health. And I had major issues with anxiety and depression, particularly the last 3-4 years. And the running happened because I wasn't able to really work out because of the pandemic. So it just so happened that, I had been training jiu-jitsu quite regularly, and I was going to the gym working out, like lifting weights and whatnot. And, I'd be working out 7 days a week, and 4 to 5 days a week would be jiu-jitsu. So I would be getting a lot of work in. The pandemic hits, and then, that all got reduced significantly, especially jiu-jitsu. So, and I needed jiu-jitsu to help with my mental health, because without it, I had some difficulty managing my emotions.
It's like a rock in your life.
Yeah.
It's everything from
the releasing aggression to learning something new to the sweat aspect of you getting your workout in through jiu-jitsu, that was all gone.
And that and also you're hanging out with your friends.
Yeah.
Right? And you're talking, you're just kind of shooting the shit and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's that disappeared at a time when I really needed it, right? So I had two decisions to really make: either find another way to relax my mental health, drinking or whatever, or find another way of exerting my body, right? And at this time, I had just finished Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. And he had spoken about running and its difficulty, and I related to it because I hated running. I always hated it. I'm still not a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
I'm more of a fan of what happens after I run. But anyways, the result, how you feel and the achievement, right? So I lost my train of thought there.
Well, really, I find what we were wanting to get at is how the running itself. And it's important to get that backstory because let's be honest, it really was the only option. You had no other choice. It seems like from what you're saying, is it running or is it drinking?
Well, yeah. And for me, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, right? or not just drink, but this dysfunctional behavior.
Well, for a lot of people, though, right? Yeah. It became that much easier to do more of anything.
Right.
And no one would be sorry for it.
And no alternatives. And no one's seeing you. You're at home by yourself. Like all these kinds of things.
What are you going to do with that?
What are you going to do? Right? So I decided, okay, forget it. I read that book. Let's see let's try. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
And this was like pre-running for veterans. This was
the beginning.
This was like, let's just move.
And and I thought I was in good shape. I trained jiu-jitsu, lifting weights, whatever. But I had never run. Even before I used to compete in bodybuilding, and I never even did any cardio then. The last time I actually had run was in high school when I was on my wrestling team. Right, and we used to run all the time, and I was the worst runner on the team. Out of 30 people, I was like the crappiest runner in terms of endurance and all that. Yeah. So I was like, okay, man, let me focus, let me see, and it was all part of me trying to do new things to have better behaviors. Like this was one aspect, but like also like other behaviors I was trying to also incorporate to improve my sort of standing where I was, and one was the running. So I was like, okay, let me try this. So I think I scheduled like 3 runs a week, like 5, just do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do 5K.
Solid,
right?
Yeah. As a starter.
Yeah. And I did that, and my times weren't great, and they were slower. But when I started doing that, I had I had consistently just been doing that. Nothing impressive, just doing that for a few weeks. And I had a friend where I work at who had decided to do the Rugged Maniac, or wanted to do it. This was right before the pandemic. So she had said she wanted to do the Rugged Maniac. And
what is Rugged Maniac? I never heard of it.
It's like an obstacle course.
It's like a Spartan type thing?
Yeah, something like
right?
that.
Cool.
And she wanted to do it to live a more healthier lifestyle, wanted to take on new habits. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it with you. I'll support you. Let's go, right?
Nice.
But the pandemic happened, and it never shut it down. It didn't work out. But we had paid, right? So I already they sent like a virtual Rugged Maniac.
Oh, that sucks. With the same amount of money that you paid for.
I think they reimbursed something. I can't remember exactly, but whatever it was. So I didn't get in touch with my colleague again about what she was going to do. But I looked at it and I was like, oh, it was in the summertime. I was like, okay, fuck it, let me try
Let's do it,
right?
Yeah.
And there were like 3 levels, right? Like be like the easier one, the middle one, the harder one. I was like, okay, fuck, let me try the hard one.
I was about to say, let me guess.
And I think it was something like you had to do 10K, and then within the 10K, like I think it was like 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 lunges, and like 100 burpees or something like that.
Okay, nice.
And whatever
involved with it.
Yeah.
And how many weeks were you already into like running being a thing?
Not a lot. Like it was just maybe a couple weeks or something. Fair. Right. And so I was like, okay, let me try that. Like, and I did it. I can't remember. It was like over an hour, right? But it was the first time I had ever done 10K ever, like my entire life.
So this was already at that point the longest run you've done
ever. Yeah. So I consistently kept doing it, kept running. It was all outside, and then we start hitting around September, and I'm doing okay in the running, nothing impressive, just kind of plugging away. It's still hard. I'm sore all the time, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what? I'm gonna run 21K, right? And but I'm telling myself this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because no one else is telling me to do it.
Yeah.
and no one's motivating me to do it.
It was already still very self-driven at the time.
Yeah, everything was self-driven because I mean, really, I'm 43, right? And at the time I'm 42. Who's going to tell me to do it? Mm-hmm. Right? I'm a grown man, right?
Yeah.
So like, no one's going to tell me to do it. So I just, for some reason, I had this drive to do it. Like, and usually these physical activities that I pick, like either bodybuilding, jiu-jitsu, or now this running, I kind of go all in, and I kind of just try to embrace it as much as I can, and I try to do as much research as I can. And I know my body so well now that I can, the way it feels, I know what I need to give it to kind of make it move, and so it just worked out that way. And so then I did the 10K, and then September rolls around, and I was like, okay, I want to push myself. I want to do a 21. So since nobody else is gonna tell me to do it, how do I keep myself accountable? One of the things I do is I tell everybody, right, that I'm going to do something. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people tell me, don't tell people what you're going to do, right? But for me, it works.
Yeah, it works for me too.
It works for me.
Same thing, yeah.
Right? Like I tell people.
I feel like it holds me accountable.
Yeah, and it keeps me
that person
going.
can come back and be like, so, Sach, how'd that 21K go?
Yeah.
It could be like 6 months later, and you're like, oh.
And then I know how I respond to that. Then I beat myself up. I'm like, oh, you're a piece of shit. You didn't even do it. Then I start feeling that way, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I do it, because I know how I respond to someone saying something and me feeling like shit. I know how I respond.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to tell people, right? And I started telling some friends and colleagues. I set a date for a Sunday. I can't remember. It was like October, whatever it was. So I set a Sunday, and it was, Monday I'm telling people, yeah, I'm going to do this, that, whatever, right? And then Sunday rolls around, and I'm at work and telling some people at work, and it's raining. Like, the weather wasn't good. This is Vancouver, right? So it's
excuse number one could have already had a way out.
Right.
Could have been like,
So it was like October, November. I can't remember exactly what the date was. I think it was actually November. It might have even been November, to be honest. Last year.
Yeah.
It might have even been that.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at my schedule. But anyway, so I'm telling people on Sunday, and it's raining out, and it's not very nice. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tell everybody, and they're gonna make me do it, right? Everyone's like, why? It's raining. Why would
they're all looking at you like,
why would you do that? Like,
why do you need to do this right now?
And now, like in hindsight, and stepping back and looking at it, of course they would say that. Like why would you do that? Like, there's no reason to do it except for, and it's cold outside and you're doing it.
You got people asking like, oh, there's like a race going on? You're like, no, it's just a fun 21K I'm doing on my own. That was a big thing that I experienced too. They're like, oh, we didn't know like COVID has races happening right now. And I'm like, no, just me and buddies going from point A to 21 kilometers south.
Yes.
That's our half marathon.
and people don't, I guess people don't understand it. But if you're training for something, you're trying to accomplish something, it's okay. They don't have to understand it.
Exactly.
It's all good, right? But it's funny, man. And then I told them, and they were like, why? And I was like, oh, well, that didn't work. It backfired on me, right? So then I went home, and I changed. It was dark, and it was raining. I was like, fuck it.
Did the why get to you, though? Was like when they asked why, when you say that it didn't work?
Yeah, then it kind of got me fired up.
Yeah, you're like, why am I?
I was like, well, why not? Right? Why? No, not like, why am I doing this? When they said why, I'm like, why not?
Fair.
As like, why wouldn't I want to do it?
Yeah.
Like, people go for, if you just start reframing things too, right? On a regular basis, people can run a mile for exercise, right? Someone does a 5K every day. It's not a big deal. So what if someone wants to run 21 if someone's physical capacity is able to do 21K in an hour and 15 minutes, why can't they do that? Because it's only an hour and 15 minute workout.
Yep. That's the same as what someone would do every day going to the gym daily.
Right. So, it's people just want to, this is my perspective. I could be 100% wrong, but from my perspective, it looks like people want to find it out before they even do it. So like, it's an instinctive response, right? And, like automatically when you say, oh, I'm going to run 100K, people are like, why? Like, they don't say why not. Or like, they don't like have that sort of attitude towards it.
So what a quick way, if our audience members are listening to this, for them to start looking at it the way you do, is that the same thing they should ask themselves? Is, okay, before I tell someone why they're doing it, before I tell myself why I'm doing it, why don't I just ask myself why not do it?
Yeah.
That would be like a quick way of...
Yeah, so for me, I don't know, like I just commit to things right away, right? But it took me years to get here. To this kind of mentality. Last year I said I'm going to run 100K, and I knew it. Like I said it, but a lot of people didn't really believe it. But I knew it because I've done difficult things before and I've achieved them, like physically. So I've done that repeatedly over the years. So I know if I set a goal that's physical in nature, I'm not like saying I'm going to go to med school, I can do it. That's not the case.
I got that one.
I'm barely average in intelligence.
Pick and choose the battles,
right? But when it comes to something physical, if I have enough time, I can do it. And if you can just get like I can tell you if you give me the time frame, like I can tell you like yes or no, I can do it in that time frame. So I'm pretty confident in those things because I've repeatedly done them over and over and over again. I've dieted, I've lifted, I've increased strength, I've reduced strength, I've run long distance, run short distance, I've done jiu-jitsu, I've done pretty much quite a few different modalities and
this was a new peak for you to get to, right?
Yeah.
Where exactly then did it take you after the 21 kilometers? So when you finished...
Okay, so that was... yeah, so it was hard.
Yeah, right? You did it.
I did it. And it was over 2 hours, obviously. A good time would be 2 hours or less. Like anything 2 hours or less is a good time. So I was obviously above that. It was the first time I ever did it, but I did it. So the goal for me was... if I'm being truthful and fully honest, the goal for me was to be under 2 hours. Okay. I want to have a good time.
So you already had the time in your head of the first 21K.
Because before I even did it, I wanted to see what a good time was.
Yeah.
So I set the goal as 21K and I want to know what the time was. Just to fuel myself even more. So I didn't want to just say it. I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And then, but I never, it's quite if I reflect back on it, it's kind of arrogant for me to think that way, right? Because I have no concept of the sport of running.
Well, that's a unique thing. So right? Your first 21K experience very different from mine.
Yeah.
Mine was so accidental, man. Like it was with one of my really good friends, and he trains the Muay Thai and kickboxing students out of Brave.
Okay.
From what we do for our students for martial arts, and I'll never forget it, man. It was COVID, and he was running a lot, and he was the predecessor of all of this. So it's funny to relate your 21 to mine, because mine was so accidental. I remember I asked him, I was like, are we doing long distance or short distance? He's like, Kenny, we're doing whatever distance, right? And I remember we did about 15 kilometers.
Okay.
So he just said, let's do however many we can do until our body gives out. So we did about 15.
This was the first time you had done that many?
First time running, yeah. This was like my day where I'm like, I've never ran this much. So I was pumped about the 15. I was like, I've never done this in my life, right? So then he's like, okay, next week we do 21, half a marathon. To me, I just heard that. I was like, Zach, this is crazy, man.
So normal, what you should do is do a 10% increase per week, right? That would be the normal way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is one of those like do not try at home things, right? Like
but we're crazy.
Yeah, exactly. We're just wired this way.
Yeah.
So I got excited. I go get a brand new pair of Nike shoes, right? And I'm pumped. I was psyched out about it, and I think it was one of those things where that is what led me to seeing. This was like pre-run for farmers. How someone being there to tell you you could do so much more than you think you can was impactful for me, because I was a byproduct of that. I had Zach go, okay, we're running again next week. I was like, yeah, man, sure. And he's like, hey, 21. What's another 6?
Yeah.
Like with that mentality, what's another 6? And I just wanted to share that, because it's, for me, I didn't look at it time-wise.
Yeah.
I just looked at it like, okay, how many can I do this day? And whatever the result of it is a win.
So, so maybe for me, it's like I challenge myself too much. It could be. I don't know.
Or maybe that was something that maybe fired you up. Like, did you almost feel like you were gonna run? Did you feel like you were running faster because you had a time to chase?
Well, I knew I was trying to push myself more. Like, I don't know if I was running faster or not, but I know I was trying to push myself more. Okay. And sometimes for me, I got to throw caution to the wind and just do it, right? So like I was ill prepared to even do that run, like for sure. Like I wasn't, like I shouldn't have even really done it. I was like, my foot was swollen, you know.
And out of curiosity again, how many weeks were you in again? This like, always excites you to know, like
maybe a month-ish, something like that. Yeah. Right.
Impressive. Right.
So like,
no running, never ran more than 10. Does 21 kilometers, half a marathon in a month. Like that's pretty freaking impressive.
It would be so like this is where I think a little bit differently.
Yeah,
it would be impressive if I did it in like under 2 hours. That would have been impressive for me, in my mind.
Yeah.
So, but in hindsight and reflecting back, I know what I did was impressive, right? And I recognize that I need to like be better prepared, like when I do things at the beginning, man. Because like I didn't even have I had like 8-year-old shoes on, like my shoes were not good.
Oh shit! What were you running in?
Like old ass Nikes that weren't even meant to be running in. Like I was fucking that new, man. Like just I'm like, I'll put these kicks on, right? Whatever. And they were my good ones, right? And they were garbage still, right?
I just love the difference. I'm like looking online, finding out what the best shoes are. Like I was like thinking of the days counting down, and you're like, these will do. How quickly did you regret wearing those?
Well, I didn't think about it, like because it's you don't know it until like you try to figure it out, right? If it's the shoe, like why? Oh, I could have thought it's just all the distance in the running.
That's a good point. You might think it's a whole other reason,
right? So, but anyways, I eventually I went to this local running store where I live close by, Peninsula Runners, and then I went to them, right? And then I went to them, and they were like, okay. How much have you run? I go, I just ran 21K. I think I need new shoes.
You're like walking and limping.
Yeah. They're like,
what's wrong with you?
They're like, how long you been running for? I go, I just started. And they're like, what's wrong with you? Like, they were like, something's legitimately, what do you, no.
Yeah.
So I was
it takes a couple of running staff from a running room.
No, and they're absolutely right, man. They're absolutely right. But some people need to learn certain ways, right? And I'm one of those people. Mm-hmm. And, so they were amazing. They basically look at your foot, see what kind of arches you have, and your gait and your stride.
Oh, it's solid.
To get the right type of shoe for you, all that kind of stuff, right? So once I did that, then I noticed a bit of an improvement, right? Not a huge one, but you could tell. Okay, this feels a bit better. I'm not as sore, right? So I increased my distances a little bit in my neighborhood, kind of doing that. Yeah. And then I did that I was probably doing like 2 runs a week. I was like, I was trying to break it down like scientifically from my perspective. Yeah. I was like, I want to be able to set a goal. And it was always the goal to set that would be like, someone would be like, wow, right? So I was trying to think, okay, what would be impressive at this early stage of the game? And I guess for me, I like validation. Like I like hearing when people say things. I guess it makes me feel good, right? So I recognize that now, right? But yeah, so I was just trying to figure out, okay, what would be good. So I was thinking I want to be able to at least run one marathon a week. That was the goal, right? So, and then I want to be able to run a half marathon a week. So then I'd be running a half and a full marathon in the week.
In the week's time.
Yeah. So I set it up as a Tuesday, I would do 21. And then the Saturday, I would work my way up to 42.
Just under, you're getting 62 to 63 kilometers.
So now, in hindsight, that's not much. For me, because of the amount of training I've been doing since that point. But when I set that goal, I was like, oh, shit, this is a lot, man.
Well, at that time, it was a big goal.
Oh, yeah. For sure. But I'm just, it's amazing what you can achieve in a short period of time. Because now when I look at that, it's been about a year, and I've far exceeded it by just sticking to the same thing over and over and over again.
And you've exceeded it from, I'm sure you could admit to this, through doing it the smart way, putting your time in, and through your body and your mind starting to just get used to it.
Yeah, so I was all in on it, right? So when I would do it, any sort of issue I would have or any sort of soreness or anything that I felt I could improve on, I'd be researching it, right? I'd be going online trying to read different types of things. Well, why do I feel this? How can I stop this pain? Or what is causing that? And how can I improve my lactic acid threshold? Like all these types of things I'm starting to try to figure out, right? And it basically comes down to just keep doing it, essentially, right? And the more you do a thing, you're going to get better at it, no matter what it is. So normally when I do something that I kind of get all in on, that's all I do, right? So that's all I was doing. I mean, so for me, lifting weights now is like second nature. It's like brushing my teeth in the morning. So I can go to the gym, crank one out 35, 45 minutes. It's not even a thing, right?
Like you won't even, arguably, from what you're saying, get the rush or the stimulus that you're trying to fully exert.
I'd be maintaining. Yeah. And which is fine.
It's like a deload week for you every week, so to speak? Or like, do you ever kind of
I never push it.
Okay, fair.
I never push it.
You're lifting, it's at subpar.
Yeah, I'm not even trying to go hard. I'm just trying to maintain what I have. right? And for me, I think
for your body to look this good, I mean, hey, come on, we have something to say about that program. I'm sure.
Well,
it doesn't always have to be a big heavy lift.
I don't think so. I mean, everyone's and like everyone's different too, right? So everyone's bodies function differently. I mean, there are some obviously similarities across the board, but everyone's. I'm at this stage of my game, man. I don't really care about size and.
Well, then this makes sense though, because now you're running. You've never experienced something like it in your life before. Yeah. It's challenging AF. You are put in a position where it's forcing you to look up.
Yeah.
How you could get better at it. So now you're starting. It sounds like to me at this process when you completed the 21, you saw someone to custom built shoes. You're thinking about the next goal. Yeah. You're hooked at this point. Like there's some buy-in here.
Yeah, there's buy-in, but I'm trying to figure out what the buy-in is. But and to be fair, like it was just I don't know, to be honest. What
but
the
also,
continued buy-in was.
I think if it's fair and okay to share this from what you've shared with me over the weekend, you were possibly at a time where you were searching and looking for something to fulfill the void in your life, and the void possibly was. At the time you mentioned that you were going through divorce. Yeah,
so I
looking for some sort of like everyone was last year.
Yeah,
something to put time towards because there's more spare time.
Right.
But then nothing productive to do it with.
Right. So I mean, yeah. So essentially, I went through a separation and divorce, and that was difficult for everybody, right?
Totally.
And so that took a toll on everyone involved, and. So we all had our different ways of coping with however we wanted to cope with the situation. And I know my personality, and I can be very destructive, and I try to stay on the positive ground as much as I possibly can. Yeah, so I was trying to reflect on myself, how I found myself in the situation that I was in at that moment, right? And what brought me there. And then what are my faults? And how do I fix them, right? And I had a lot of them. I'm not perfect at all. Made massive mistakes throughout my life. I'm only now getting to a stage where I have a level of clarity and understanding on how to properly function in a group setting with people and all these types of things.
That's why I appreciate you even mentioned it earlier, man. And it just shows so much of your character and growth you've made, not to relate it to age by any means, but to more so put it this way, where we're always growing. We're always changing the way we show up as we continue to find ways to ask ourselves if this is who we really want to show up as. And if we, in reverse, look at it where, okay, what if I was in this person's shoes and I was acting the way I'm acting now? Would I appreciate that? And I just noticed, like, it's really unique, even in the span of seconds, how you've shared with me even like what goes on in your head and how quickly you're going to adjust how you show up for someone else in a social setting. And I think that's difficult now for anyone or everyone, depending on how much they've gone through.
Right.
Because we come back into these social situations post-COVID now, and it's different. And I struggled with that. I now know that the happy-go-lucky version of me, such walking in a room and be like, hey, how's everyone doing? I can't just normally expect everyone just based off my energy to match mine.
Right.
Because people are like, oh, well, life's a little rough right now.
Yeah.
And I can just be like, oh, what do you mean it's rough? Like, come on, cheers. It's like, no, like they're going through shit still. Or they were going through it and they're still trying to, figure out all the pieces of the puzzle to put it together.
Right.
I just like that you share that, man, because it's not surface level. And some people, they choose to put that wall up and act or pretend like everything's okay when, man, life is an ongoing.
I've done that for a long time, right? Like,
so you felt like you were that.
You always kind of worried about what people are thinking and who's saying that, this, that, and the other, and you want to try to act a certain way in front of other people. You want to have this, that, and the other thing, and over the last 3 years, I've sought out therapy and I see a psychologist, and so I'm actively working to improve my mental health, right, all the time. And so through that process, you reflect back and you see things that are you acted in a way I didn't really appreciate back in the day, Right now, I can see the difference now. Right now, mind you, medication helps.
Yeah, and I
Right?
appreciate you admitting that.
So like the medication has helped.
There's this whole cancel culture now associated with people feeling like you don't need medications to help you out. Like some people do need it, and some medications are very
at the time,
important to take.
Yeah, especially
for
at the time I needed it very much so, because I had I guess you call it's a major depressive episode. So it's a significant sort of a breakdown essentially. So it was when you have 2 weeks or more of interrupted sleep, severe anxiety, paranoia, like all these kind of red flags. So I ended up getting, going to the doctor and getting that sorted out. And then at that time, it was mandatory that I get medicated, and then be under observation for when they give you that sort of diagnoses. They have to technically monitor you for the next 12 months, right? To see, the medication works and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah. So,
did that scare you at all when you realized that it led you down a path of needing to be medicated?
I was happy.
Yeah. Like it probably felt like
it was a relief, man.
It was an answer.
Yeah. Because
possibly.
No, for me, so I started taking the medication, right? And then the first 4 days were terrible. Like the side effects, don't feel good. And I can withstand some pain and discomfort. It was almost got me to the point where I didn't want to take the medication.
Was it painful, like physically, or
nausea, fatigue to another level?
Yeah.
Headaches, sweats.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
And but as soon as that went away, it progressively got better and better and better, and I've been able to I can't really explain it. I used to blow up a lot, get angry, frustrated, and I still do from time to time, but I'm getting better at managing that. And
good for you, man.
But the medication helps that
tremendously.
Right? So if I get irritated or angry, it's instead of like an explosion, it's kind of goes like a little small burst and comes back in. So I can,
because you feel like you can recognize when it's coming. Yeah.
So when I recognize it, I just kind of go on top of it and then recalibrate, right? And then kind of refocus in a different direction.
Was this post therapy?
I've been doing
during.
All during.
It was all during.
Yeah.
Because I want to definitely bring it back, of course, to the questions you may have asked yourself where running really helped you cope through all this. Mm-hmm. But I just want to really, since we're on the topic of it, I think it'll personally help me a lot too, and I'm very curious. I'm currently in the pre-contemplation stage of seeking therapy, mainly not through some incident or through some heavy loaded trauma, just more so dealing and coping with experiences in my life that I almost keep relating to current experiences. So I wouldn't call it unfinished business. I'd call it more so there have been certain things that have pretty much I would relate too much to what's currently happening in my life now, and it would get in the way of my existing happiness with other people. So I just noticed that it's important to be able to talk openly with a professional who knows how to study brains about this. And the whole for me anyway, I always felt growing up I'm a big people pleaser, and I'm starting to do less and less and less of that and focus more on myself. But I worry personally that I'm too much on either end of the extreme type person. So I want to talk with a professional about that. I've done that with couples therapy,
right?
But I've never done that single-handedly. So I wonder your experience of finding someone.
That's
and
an awesome.
What that was like.
It took me a bit of time, and that's an awesome sort of question, I think, right?
Yeah, because it's searching for the right person for you to feel vulnerable enough to
man, how long do you spend to find a good jiu-jitsu school?
I mean, that's actually a great question. Personally, I'll be honest with you, it's just you go to a place, you feel comfortable, and you stay. Yeah.
So, but I mean, for me, I like to find a place, so I do my research before I do things, right?
Shop around, quote unquote. Yeah.
You want to shop
around. Which is
the
right thing to do now.
Right. So you want to shop around. So
Who makes you feel comfortable?
Who makes you feel comfortable? It took me a while to kind of figure it out, right? So initially, I spoke with one of our counselors at work. So she was great. It helped. But you got to also understand, what do you require, right? What level of expertise do you need, right? Because then that changes things. So a counselor, you know, they're not a doctor, right? They're not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. They're a counselor. So they can guide you in certain areas, but they can't really diagnose anything. And they can't do. I don't think they even give you therapy, like certain types of actual cognitive therapies, right? And then you have your, you know, I guess counselors and therapists are kind of the same, I think, for the most part. And then you have your psychologist, and then you have a psychiatrist, right? So I see a psychologist, right? Because then, at least for me, and it took some time to find the right person, how you kind of gel with. And then also you got to think, what are you looking at? So initially I wanted her to help me with very specific types of things, some trauma experiences and stuff like that, right? But I also thought about what maybe in the future I might want to have assistance with. So she also does sports psychology, and she does, you know, like a lot of the sports related kind of ideas and how to mentally get prepared for certain types of things. So 100% sports psychology stuff. So anyway, so I saw her, and that's where I started really seeing some significant improvements, and you know, providing certain types of therapies. And so, but what you're asking, I think I can give you an analogy, and it'll answer your question, right? So you work out, jiu-jitsu, martial arts, kickboxing, lift weights, right? Mm-hmm. You massage
I do.
Yeah. Ice bath
I do, but not enough.
But you do foam roll, stretch.
Yeah, like it's a very multifaceted, holistic.
You use your brain every day, right?
Mm-hmm. Constantly,
all the time. Like you're thinking all the time.
Yeah, like you could even tell, start to finish. You're like, oh my goodness, he goes from training all these clients to a podcast to like it's non-stop.
And the energy that you exude takes energy, right? Like the positivity, it's draining, right? The psychologist is your massage therapist for your body, right? I think you should always have one.
Yeah, big time.
All the time. Personally for me, because now like I'm going through a different stage in my life, right? I still have my psychologist. I'm not really focused on some of these other things that were really the squeaky wheel that was causing my problems, right? So now I'm like focused on, okay, I have these goals that I want to achieve. How do I need to really mentally prepare my mind? And then how do I need to interact with people? And it's not she's telling me. We have a conversation.
Brilliant.
And then as I understand psychology or these kind of relationships, how they work, they guide you into the direction of which you need to be, right?
It helps navigate you to the direction you need to go. And you know what's funny about this though, man, is like, it's funny how I seek. This is the crazy part. I don't know if anyone even, like, it'd be interesting if our audience members who are listening can relate, and feel free to like share this with Sach or I. But it's like I get this weird wall that comes up where I'll admit this, and I haven't admitted this. I didn't tell anyone yet, where it's like, what if I become less open to share the changes and what's going on in my head to the loved ones in my life? Like, you know, Chelsea, or like my family, you know, like really close friends, you know, Omid, Danny, Kram. What if I just become like less willing to share things? Because I'm like, oh, well, I'll talk about that with my psychologist Monday. And it's like, I almost feel like my friends and my loved ones, you know, like who I spend my life with, they're in an odd way my version of therapy. Because like I'll go to them and be like, guys, I'm dealing with this right now. Help me. Like, how should I navigate through this? And I'll be honest, to your point, it's a conversation. They ask questions, you're speaking it. But it's kind of weird, again, going back to extremes. I almost feel like I'm going to like be at like my psychologist.
The frame it different
here.
Okay, so you would talk to a lot of friends and family, right?
Yeah, because actually I should have shared this. I only like getting advice about things from like one or two people max. I don't like repeating it. So I think that's what I mean.
So maybe like then you would have to find the right fit, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's the right fit. So, you know, I don't think they tell you, right, what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's up to you. They might say, hey, here are the options. This is what you're trying to do. This is what you said you want to do. And how do we get you there? Does that activity make you get you there, or does this activity make you get there? It's kind of like that, right? Fair. And presenting it in a way that you see it yourself, and you're like, yeah, this is the correct path. It is, because this is what I want to achieve. And for me to do this, I have to go this way. right?
Fair.
So
which I'm actually constantly battling now in my mid-20s, where it's like, now's the time in my life, it could be pressure I'm putting on myself, but you made a good point there, where it's like, if I do this decision, what's the outcome? I feel like now, as I'm trimming the fat, decisions I make either go, time is being spent fully in this direction, or I no longer do it and it's fully going this way.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well, you got to look weigh out the pros and cons on that, right?
Yeah.
What are you trying to achieve ultimately? And that would depend upon which direction you're going in. Now, if it's for a great, huge business to make certain kinds of money, well, you might have to navigate things a little differently that way, right?
That's a good point.
And if it's for more of like, I don't know, like leadership and maybe guiding people, mentoring or something like that, maybe you have to do something this way.
Yes.
Right? So it's a different sort of way of thinking, I think.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not that I'm a professional.
I love it though, man. I mean, it's so nice for it to not be so taboo anymore. Where like man to man, you could talk to someone about them seeking help or therapy from someone for their mind, and it's like, it's deserving kudos instead of, oh, what do you need help with? What's wrong with you? Like that's such a toxic mindset to have, and I'm so glad we're shying away from that now.
Well, I think
people are being more open.
I think it's important, like say people like you and myself, that we are open about it, right? Because look, I don't care what people think; they can say whatever they want, right? But not everyone feels that way, right? And not everyone, and everyone's got their own way of thinking, right? So it's good that we can say it because the others may not be able to, and fine. I'm okay with that because I don't give a shit what people say. Okay, fine. Say whatever you need to say. I don't care. I'm still doing something that's pretty legit. I'm still trying to achieve a goal that's going to help a lot of people. So what you say really doesn't matter to me. I don't care anymore.
What was a question that you felt like was asked to you, or that it was going back to the point you made about shifts, where like you can speak with a professional psychologist and they can be a part of those changes you make? What was one that you'd be willing to identify that you felt like you answered in your runs, or that you even just...
Oh, that I answered in the runs.
In your runs, or even with you smiling there, go back to whatever you just thought of.
So I was just thinking about a couple weeks ago with my session with my psychologist. And since the run, I felt that since maybe the 2 weeks before the run was over, so maybe let's say the last month, I've been feeling a sense of peace and ease and a level of clarity because I know exactly what I need to do. And I know how to do it.
It's exciting when you're 2 weeks out and you feel ready already.
Like, they're kind of primed, right? And sorry, what was the question? I forgot.
Well, I was wondering, like, what exactly was it that she or he, like whatever they might have asked you, and that it was a light bulb moment for you for change.
So I've been feeling a level of peace and kind of happy that, I had never done something like this before, right? And I far exceeded the goals that I set out, and we raised a ton of money for veterans. So I was super happy, right? So anyways, I'm sitting with my psychologist whenever it was, right before the run, I think it was. And I was feeling pretty just at peace and stuff. And then I'm talking to her about this, and I started coming to realization where I work now. I was thinking, well, do I belong here? Do I fit in? I don't feel like I've been there 16 years, right? I've been a dog handler and working in law enforcement, and I've been there 16 years and love it, and still love it, and love the people, nothing negative whatsoever. But I just feel now like I might not belong there, right? So anyways, I'm talking to my psychologist, and I was like, you know what, man? I came to this realization that I don't think I belong here anymore, and I need to do something different. And she was like, yeah. Like, she knew it already, and she's like... and then in my mind, I was like...
It was a surprise. Like
No, she was like, yeah. She was like, yeah. And I was like, why didn't you tell me this like 3 years ago? Well, you wasted my money. You took about how much money and 3 years of my life? I could have shortened
this up. You just go defensively, like, wait, what? Like, that's a reaction?
No, but she's like, you have to get to that realization, right? It has to come into your own head. On your own. Had she told me something like this, or someone else told me something like this, I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. What are you talking about? I'm making good money. I got this, that, and the other. Get out of here. I need the money for this, that, and the other, right? But now I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave my job. I love it. But maybe there's an alternative. Maybe there's something else that we can do here. And keeping an open mind that anything is possible. And now I feel, like, genuinely feel that way. Because for me, completing this 100 kilometers, not just the 100 kilometers itself, but everything that was surrounding it, and making it through a lot of the stress. Like, and a lot of it was self-induced. Like, I put the stress on myself. So I'm not pointing fingers at anybody who were giving me stress, but like I was doing it to myself because I felt like I needed to achieve this goal. Like, it was like I had to do it. And, like, so now I feel that I can pretty much accomplish anything because every sort of pillar that I set for that to achieve, we smashed it.
That's awesome.
Like, I wanted to, set a goal for $10,000. We got almost 21,000.
Doubled it.
Right? Which will go straight to the BC Yukon Legion, the Royal Canadian Legion, which helps veterans and RCMP members. So that, and another one was to like give a sense of pride to the community that I live in and the people that are around me. I wanted them to have a level of pride to say, hey, you know what, he did a good thing, right? And for me, that makes me feel good because this is the biggest thing, like community-wise, I've ever done in my life. Like, I serve every single day, like part of my job, but this is a different thing because, like it was my baby. I came up with an idea.
It was a direct feeling of satisfaction.
Yeah, like I saw it from beginning to end with all the hurdles or perceived hurdles or whatever I think it was going on, and still made it work.
Well, no wonder why you can't help but question your career choice, because then you just go and wonder, okay, well, what if I doubled down on something like this and I was able to make a living solely off of this?
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest, we all get very comfortable and we all get very complacent with our current positions we're in. And you had that thought in your head.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, well, shit, man. Like, in my mind, and this might sound ridiculous, when it comes to the physical part of it, I knew I was going to do it, right? So it wasn't like that was the hard part. The hard part for me was the logistics to make the thing happen.
Yeah, the strategy, the orchestrating, like how you could possibly get on the news.
How's the news happen? How do I raise the money? I've never done it before. What do I need to do? How do I start a GoFundMe? How do I get the Legion? Like,
it's not easy. It's not easy.
And I had an amazing group of people help me, for sure, because I couldn't have done any of it without the help of the people that were very close in on the team, the Run to Remember team. And they helped me very much. I don't want to name their name. I would, but I don't think they want me to. Yeah. But without them, 100% this wouldn't have happened. And they have a hand in every single dollar that we raised.
That's awesome.
So it was a team effort. I was just the person that was doing the training because I am able to do that, right? So we're a team, right? Maybe I'm the captain of the team, maybe, and I had the vision and the direction of where we needed to go, but it wouldn't never have happened without them. And without their assistance, for sure, 100%. Like a group of like 8 people, right?
Love that.
And then the volunteers that helped out the day of, like 100%. It was because in that last week, I asked one of the project manager of the Run to Remember. I just told her, hey, look, leave me alone. Don't talk to me. I'm gonna lose my shit. Just leave me the fuck alone.
The day of?
The week.
The week of? Yeah.
The week.
Just fight week. Just like
I was just like, leave me alone.
Let me be on my own.
I need you guys to just deal with it. Figure out whatever you need to figure out. Yeah. I got you. Like I asked you to help me because I trust you. I trust you. Just deal with whatever needs to be done. And I had to apologize because sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, you want to you don't have the strength to kind of keep the emotions together. But,
well, I mean, hey, you can't blame me. You got 100 kilometers to run in a week.
Yeah, but again, I can't thank them enough. I don't want to sound like I'm going overboard, but without them, for sure, it wouldn't have happened.
That's awesome.
And but yeah, did I answer your question? Shit, man, that was a long-winded answer.
No, you did. I mean,
the psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the biggest thing that I got out of that was you said and asked something expecting for a certain response, and you didn't get it, and then you realize that a lot of it is getting some sense of being able to sit with yourself and have a real conversation. Because I'm guilty of it sometimes. I'm still working on it, where it's like who I show up as in front of my friend, girlfriend, family is a version. It's like it's a slight sold version of myself. But now the walls are down. You're talking to someone who doesn't know anything about you, who may, over the years or the time you spend with them, will. And you have nothing to say to this person to satisfy what they want to hear or how they want to hear it. They're just a set of ears. They're a wall, they're a person, they're an identity where, I mean, I don't know about anyone else. If anyone out here is able to like voice out their thoughts and talk out loud or look in the mirror and talk to themselves, I've never done it in my life.
No.
Kudos to the people
you gotta
do.
be Jedi Master.
But I don't hear many people do that, right? It's an uncomfortable thing to do. It's like we need another person to feel like they're listening to what we're saying and articulating our thoughts. So like what I got out of that was you said something and your psychologist gave you a response you didn't expect, but then you even realized that you needed to come to terms to reach this point.
Well, I think
and don't get me wrong, there's some loved ones where, again, I'm working on that authenticity, and I'm doing just that to show them who I really
I think,
am.
man, listen, I'll pump your tires for a second here, man, because like I'm 43, right? So I've had a lot of years to figure shit out. I'm only figuring it out now, kind of, right? So to be honest, I was just like that, where I would only give people pieces. Like just pieces.
Yeah, it's not the whole piece of the puzzle. Yeah,
and I had so many pieces to get, like just to give and show people. So not really, no one really knew me, and still no one really knows me. I'm just now.
Yeah, you're taking it all out.
Now I'm trying to not be so guarded. I've been guarded my entire life for self-preservation, I guess. Right, like whatever perceived in my mind or not. So I would like my closest friends that I work with and whatnot. They don't even know me.
Oh wow!
Like I don't.
You don't give them other aspects of you.
No, not like the deeper, like old historic kind of stuff, right?
Do you want that stuff to come out now?
I want to be.
Is it something you're still kind of working on to like be able to?
I want to be able to at some point. I'm not ready yet.
Fair,
right?
Yeah.
But this is part of why I'm trying to be as open and authentic as I possibly can to everyone I meet. So then that way, no one will be able to tell the difference at any given moment. So I want everyone to have the same piece, right? Not a whole bunch of small pieces.
It's crazy you say that, because for me, and I think you're going to get this too now, when I talk to you when you do your 5th podcast feature, your 8th, your 10th, and in other places. And that's just a quick little note to notify people that you got to get Sach on your podcast if you have one.
Yeah.
But I really resonate with what you just said, because when I started episode 1 of Second Floor, I was very nervous for this reason, where I was like, which Kenny do I bring on? Do I bring on the Kenny where, okay, maybe my friends listening to this? Okay, let's talk the way I do with my homies.
Yeah.
Oh, do I bring on the Kenny where like, oh, my aunt and uncle might listen to this? Okay, let's be a little bit more proper.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like, you know, which version? Because there's that slight deviation, you know, that I bring on that's more catered to my audience, and call that the marketing guy in me, call that the, you know, I was an entertainer in my family, and I wanted to just like cater to who I was in front of, or I did growing up. I want to satisfy whoever I was around, so I just became them.
Right.
So now here I was, and then I remember, man, I was like, just be you, whoever that ends up being. And formal Kenny came out first. Yeah. And by formal Kenny, I mean like, yeah, exactly. And I was like, all right, let's ride that out, because it was all mainly business. It was all mainly professional topics.
You still gotta find yourself and what this is gonna be too, organically.
Yeah, but that's why I'm excited, man. When I share with you, is like, man, episode 8, 9, 10, or the 10th feature, I mean, for you, is I feel like that's where you're really gonna start being more comfortable sharing things. Because again, I'm sure in the back of your mind, you're thinking anyone can listen and hear my story now. There's a vulnerable aspect to that.
There is vulnerability.
It's not just Kenny you're talking to right now, right?
So it's one thing to say, you know, I don't give a shit what people say about, oh yeah, he's got mental health or whatever. Like, fine. But when I start sharing like something that is really personal, then yeah, for sure, I'll probably feel a little bit, but then I'm trying to still get there, right? So I'm trying to figure it out. But I want to get there. Because I never was like that. And at the end of the day, if people know all your shit, they don't have anything over you, right? So they have no power to control whatever you're gonna do. So my brother's kind of like that, right? Like he's the same to everybody, so he doesn't give different pieces. So I mean, I'm trying to kind of model a little bit of that, but also like to so it fits me, right? But I also feel like I'm at a stage in my life where I do have a wide range of experiences. I know there's all kinds of different like leaders and this, that, and the other, and professionals. I'm just a guy who just, try to figure out shit, right? And I just want to be able to share my experiences. If they can help somebody, then cool. If not, then that's cool too. But I'm gonna keep having these crazy experiences, and because I need to have them.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have these experiences, and they're gonna keep coming, because the satisfaction that I got out of finishing that 100K. So I've done a lot of bodybuilding, and I've done jiu-jitsu. I've competed in both. I've gotten pretty much in every bodybuilding competition I've placed. So I've got a trophy.
Yeah.
And for every jiu-jitsu tournament, maybe I didn't get a medal a couple times. So I've gotten quite a few medals. Not once I was like, fuck yeah. Oh, I was like, okay, that's cool. That's all right, whatever. Never meant anything to me.
I think I remember we were talking about this yesterday, and it was like 100 kilometers. There's no one at the end of the race going, oh, Sach, here you go. Here's your medal. Here's your consolation prize. It's like, you didn't even need it to feel this good about it, right?
It felt amazing because we did so much, we helped so many people, and we brought so much awareness. It was awareness of the mental health aspect and for veterans, right? And that's the whole function and the whole idea of what we're trying to do. So that's everything, right? So for me, I'm like, we got the exposure on global. We got the exposure, just the community, because we're running on the highway. The police cruisers are stopping the highway, and like we're on the actual highway, right? So people are honking their horns. We're like in Richmond, the traffic, like the news had to do like the next day the papers were like the traffic was jammed up because of these people. They were doing this in a different newspaper, right?
That's awesome.
So it was of course I feel better about that, like compared to like a fucking medal. Like really, like, I mean, it's cool like testing myself that way, but for me that's not even a test. I feel like I'm just getting more mat time, right? For me it's really not a test, because I can go to my jiu-jitsu school and roll with one of my teammates and get the same sort of feeling, right? Like because they're fucking good too.
Yeah.
So like I can get the same thing there, and when I go to a tournament, sometimes it's a little bit easier. So it doesn't really matter to me. And I mean, yeah, I lose a lot too, but that doesn't. It makes no difference, right? But with this run, man, the enjoyment, like I don't cry at these types of things. I got emotional. Like it was hard to keep it together. So I didn't talk much on the news. They were asking me questions, and I just said a few things. And then
this is post 100K.
I post 100K. Like
they had like a mic ready on you.
Yeah, and the camera on my face. So
like, yeah, what do you say? It's like, can we talk in like 3 hours and I eat something?
No, well, because at that point too, you're carb depleted, right? The sugar is not even in your system, your brain. So it was almost hard to put a sentence together a little bit.
I couldn't agree more.
And to talk, because I was obviously dehydrated.
What did you say? Do you remember?
I know exactly what I said, because I knew they were going to ask me, how do you feel after this run? And right before I got out, I was like, I knew they were going to ask me that question, so I kind of wanted to say what I felt. And I said something to the effect of like, kind of actually memorized it almost. I felt honored and blessed to have the opportunity to serve the veteran community, is basically the first line that I said. Because I genuinely felt honored and blessed that I had the fucking opportunity to do what I just did. And to help a whole bunch of people.
I love how it goes back to what you did it for. That's very genuine.
Like, just for like people I don't even know. Like, I have no, like, it's cool. Like, and what got me thinking too when I started doing all this run is like, if I'm gonna work out and run and do all this shit, why not do it for a good reason, right? Like, instead of running a race, I don't, like, cool for people, they want to run races, that's awesome, right? I have zero desire to run a marathon. I have zero desire to do an actual ultra. Like, I probably will do them, but I don't have a drive that I need to do it, because it's not about me competing, and it's about me challenging myself and then raising awareness and funds for the veteran and first responder community. That's it. So if I'm doing a race, what's that going to do? Typically when someone enters a competition, what happens? They become competitive, right? And for you to become competitive, especially for me, if I'm going to run a half marathon and I want to qualify for like a big half marathon, like in New York or Boston, in my age category, I have to do it in like an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and 20. in and around that time, right? So I could do that if I trained my ass off and everything was all just doing that, right? But if I do that, then I forego all the other benefit that I could do. All the positive that I could do. For what? For me to satisfy myself?
It becomes only about you.
Right?
It changes.
So,
you change that.
So for me, I don't want it to be about me because I know what happens when I put things about me. I become egocentric. I start thinking about my shit and, oh, yeah, I'm fucking this, that, and the other. I don't want that because I know that's going to happen because I know my personality. So I have to like constantly remind myself, okay, no. Okay, what's the right thing to do? I actually say that to myself.
Yeah.
I actually say that to myself when I have a dilemma and which direction I need to go in. And I ask myself, okay, what's the right thing to do? And that just puts me in check to do the right thing.
I love that.
Because sometimes you just, oh man, but fuck this person. Because sometimes you say it, right? Oh, this person fucking did this to me. Or, so there have been a lot of people that have wronged me, right? And I want to always attack and fight.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want to fucking, no you don't, right? Like who the fuck, like you get aggressive.
There's the dominance, there's the element of, I want to prove to you that I'm right and you're wrong. Yeah, those things come into play.
So I have, like, I know that happens, right? So I usually kind of get angry and then I let that kind of subside a bit and then I start thinking, okay, what's the right thing to do here? And then I kind of try to remind myself what to do and how to move appropriately in that scenario. And it's helped me, to be honest. And now I don't have to remind myself as much anymore because now it's just a pattern of behavior. So it's almost like me reteaching myself too on how to just to be kinder to people. It's my way of kind of just being, figuring out a way to be nicer. Because naturally for me, I'm an introvert, right? And I don't want people talking to me, and it kind of irritates.
Like the attention itself is kind of like, oh, I don't really want it to be self-induced.
Yeah, like so for me, this is difficult, right? Not super hard, but like I'm getting used to it now.
Yeah.
But like last night we went for dinner and we're speaking to everybody. That it wasn't difficult, but for me it was a bit. It was just different for me, right? Because I'm not used to everyone kind of talking to me and looking at me and asking me questions about this very specific issue.
Well, especially knowing that. Let's factor in everyone for dinner yesterday. Yeah. You came from out of town. Mm-hmm. This dinner was arranged for those from our run club with 10 in attendance who were very excited to meet you. And that was just based off of them, hearing your story and what you did. And I can imagine, like, you can't help but think, like, okay, like, how do I show up? Like, there's 10 strangers I'm about to shake hands with, and they're going to wonder who's this guy behind the 100 kilometers. And I can imagine there's that feeling of, like, man.
And I'm thinking,
what hat do I put on in this situation?
That's what I was thinking. So at the beginning, I was starting with a certain hat, right? And I was like, it then naturally kind of just went away, and I just started being open. I was talking to one of the ladies that was with us last night. I'm not sure if we wanted to say their names or not.
Yeah, sure, you could be open.
Okay, so Akomo, she was there last night, right? Yeah. And I was just expressing something to her that I was almost getting. I told her I'm almost getting emotional talking to you about it.
Wow.
Because that's how passionate I am about it.
And you could relate possibly.
Yeah, like
so you guys were talking.
Yeah,
about,
so it's like. That's what I'm starting to appreciate more now, and the old me would have never had that experience.
I think it's cool because, correct me if I'm wrong, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the case, but like this was the first time 10 strangers showed up for such.
Yeah.
Right? Like
100%.
And it's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, and especially for this type of...
in a different town. Like, too, like, that's another thing, so too.
It was very humbling, man, like, to be honest. And it's
you deserve
like,
it, man.
Yeah, because it's because... I have a lot of plans and goals that I want to achieve, right? And once I execute them all, I can anticipate what everything's going to turn into.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, and I'm working on this kind of thinking, but in my mind, I haven't really processed what I did as a big deal, so I have to constantly remind myself, like what it is. Okay, now the 100K, I didn't even remember it, to be honest.
You passed it.
I'm done. Right? So
the irony, it is run to remember, and now you're like, I'm not even remembering it.
Right? No, but it's like kind of done now, right? So however difficult that was, now I know when I do it again, it's gonna be fucking easy.
And I think you and me can relate to this, and I talk about it with, really close people in my life who feel the same way. Where when we accomplish something, we have to let it. We have to let it fester. Like what I mean by that, I don't even know if that's the right terminology to use here, but we have to appreciate it and know what we just did.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Again, not too long, not too short, but like really celebrate it. And celebration can mean anything to anybody. It doesn't mean, let's get shit-faced for a week and let's just keep talking about and finding ways to congratulate me. No, it's like, okay, how do I want to celebrate this?
Yeah.
Is it me going the next day and having a spa day? Or is it like, do I deserve just a nice big steak meal? And do I deserve to not think about what's next for X amount of time?
I have a problem doing that.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I finished a competition this past year. I win or lose the next day. I'm literally like, what's next?
Yeah.
It's great, cool. It's exciting. Like you pick up off that energy. It's a healthy thing. However, it also makes you realize that you're forcing yourself to not be present.
Right.
And I think that's what has scared me about it.
Right.
Is I'm not lying to you, man. I've done so many that in my head now, I'm starting to forget like what even happened on some of these trips. Or I like the memory of experiencing a loss or a win or the lesson behind it. I need to either keep talking about it, or if I don't, I focus so much on what's next that I forget what even just happened.
So I think
it's a scary feeling.
I think it's a good point to think about it and acknowledge what was just done. I think for a few reasons. One is because you can take it all in and appreciate what you've accomplished, and then that can elevate your own confidence because you've achieved something that's been difficult, and you put all this work in, and you can, oh yeah, you know what, I did this. And then that elevates you to push you to do something more, if possible. Yeah. Right? So I think that's the value in sitting into it. So
I'd argue even like this, even you being here like 4 or 5 days later from the run, it's good. We're celebrating it, talking about it. It's nice, right? It's reliving that moment, forcing yourself to.
And I think it was invaluable for me to come here, to be honest, to, I don't know, validate that too, right? Like the people, it did affect or reach people.
Yeah.
It did resonate with people. So that means what we were doing was good.
I love it.
Like that means, like shit, man. So at the very beginning when I was thinking, how is there no news reporter like picking this thing up, right? Because I was emailing them, right? Like I emailed a whole bunch of different places.
Solid.
And because I knew if just one person could hear what we were trying to do,
it's gonna keep going.
Yeah, because it's good. Right?
Yep. CTV is going to go, you sure what was on Global yesterday? Why don't we have a guy putting him on ours today? Come on, go find him.
Right.
It's I think a bandwagon effect.
Yeah, so like I think I think that's, it's good, man. Like everything worked out real well, and it built my, like I actually feel a level of my confidence so high right now because we did such a great thing on a team together that we commit. I think we're going to commit to continue doing this every year.
Love that.
So like every November, we're going to have a run to remember.
100 kilometers every year.
100 kilometers, and look, we've already done it now, right? So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We already have all the sort of connections with the people. The social media is kind of starting to amplify a bit more. Over the next year, that's going to kind of jump up a bit, right? So the goal would be to, again, keep the exact same run, right? 100 kilometers, run to remember, raising money for veterans and first responders. And at any given point, if anybody wanted to join us, they could join us. So you don't have to do 100 kilometers. Like if you wanted to, come join me, whatever, right? I would ask, like, and this is all in the preliminary stages, but if someone wanted to join any portion of the run, you donate a certain amount, and then you run with us, right? Or you make a donation. But I think we can't stop at the one, right? And we have to continue because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think, look, I'm an advocate for mental health, obviously, right? I'm an advocate for veterans. I have a close connection personally with my family, not in Canadian military, but in the British Indian Army. And I've had friends that served in the military. So it's a personal thing, right?
It's very personal.
And I know I'm going to continue doing this, and I know I have a certain skill set, and I think now I know how to use it properly in a certain area. It would be I feel it as my obligation to do this, right? Because if I don't do this, because I feel like I'm meant to do something like this, if I don't do this, then I'm just wasting my time.
Yeah.
I'm not doing what I should be doing.
And a great way of looking at you taking an advantage of skills you have and making good use of your time.
Well, that's because I had this thought when I was at work a few weeks ago. I'm like, I'm at work and I'm good at my job, right? And but the specific skills that I have aren't maximized there. So I can use the skills that I have and maximize them tenfold in a different area.
Yeah.
And help people at the same time.
Instead of just getting a gold star, a good job,
Yeah.
no matter how good of a difference you're making at work, now take that energy.
Yeah, and do it where I feel I actually am doing something meaningful.
That's awesome.
So like when I'm at work, when you're at work, right? It doesn't feel like you're doing something that's changing the world or affecting change, right? But this, I honestly feel like there's an impact here. And I want to continue to see if I can continue having these types of impacts because of the skill set that I have.
That's amazing.
So by setting a goal, as long as I know, for me, it's just a problem, right? It's like solving a mathematical problem. You set this goal, right? It's a physical goal. Now, yeah, it might sound like daunting, 100 kilometers, but just break it down. If you have enough time, you can do anything, right? So if you just break it down, okay, what do I need to do to run 100? How do people train for that? How often do I need to run? What do I need to eat? How do I need to lift? Like all the things, you just boom, 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 break it down.
Yep.
And then you know, what kind of shoes, what kind of equipment, what kind of, like all that. Just start reading and just figuring it out, and then trial and error. And then obviously I know my body because I've used it in physical activity for many, many years. So I know how it responds to certain things. I know how to push it even further or even to redline it. I know how to do that. So without getting close to the edge, but not jumping over it.
Yes.
Because I've had injuries by going over the edge. So I kind of can feel it. And now I'm smart enough and aware enough to know, like, you know what? I got to chill. Right? Most of the time. I pulled my hamstring, but most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Because, when I was tapering down before the 100K, I had to force myself. No, I'm not going to run more than 10. No, I'm not going to run more than 8 kilometers. Because every day I'd go, I was so used to running so much.
Yeah, you could keep going.
I could keep going. But I'd be like, no, I got to stop.
For the 100, yeah.
Because I got to taper down, and I got to save my legs and make sure the energy's there and all that stuff. So that's also a level of discipline that a different type of discipline, because I know I can keep moving and keep going. Screw that. Now I'm competitive, right? So there's levels to where you are, right? And I'm at a different level now where I'm like, okay, shit, I can run this, but now I'm getting competitive with myself. And last time I did 12K, and this time, let me just do it today, and then I can just beat it by this, and then whatever, I'll recover.
But it's cool that it sounds to me like you've had enough in where you've gamified it, and now you have good problems. Now you're like, okay, I have a problem where I want to keep going. Before it was like you were waiting for it to end. Yeah. Like what are you?
But there's gonna be a point where it needs to end on the far part of it, right?
Yeah.
So then I want to push that envelope. So what's that envelope? Where's that? Because I want to know, so when I ran 21 kilometers every day, I did that for a week once, right? But I had to build up to that, and I built up to it. When I got to it, I was like, oh, okay, it's possible to run a marathon a day, because I kept hearing on Joe Rogan that Cameron Haynes could run a marathon or runs a marathon a day. And I'm like, okay, he's older than me, and I can do that. Yeah. Like, why? How can he do? Not like being pissed off about it. Yeah. But I'd be like,
you're like, it's possible.
If he can do that, then I can do that. Right? And he's older. Yeah, he's trained longer than me and whatever. But how do I cram in as much as I possibly can?
How can I log as many clicks as I can? Right. And I love how you looked at it from how many kilometers a day do I need to run to eventually make that happen?
Right. So in just breaking it down, but that requires my own inner drive to do it. Right. My own competitive nature, but now I've channeled that competitive nature into a positive direction, not a negative one. So it's like to do some meaningful stuff for people if I can, right? Raise money for veterans and first responders, and no better task for me, man. If I can work out and run and do that all the time, sign me up. Yeah, sign me up, man. I'll do it every day. If all I had to do was train every single day and kick my own ass and beat it up and run 100K,
Yeah.
I would do it.
We need to get you in the Olympics, man. Let's go.
I don't think the Masters, Masters division.
Masters division. No, that's cool, man. I appreciate you sharing all that. I want to know where you want to take things now going forward in this conversation, because there was a gap there. I want to know how exciting of a gap it is to discuss right now,
okay.
or if you want to talk about what's next after 100.
Sure.
The gap there, what was unique was, if we take it back before we really got into rolling through our conversation, was you did the 21 kilometers, and then I'm just wondering what was the build up to the next thing to that led to the 100.
Okay.
If you want to go there, or if you want to just take it to what the next steps
I think
are.
I touched on it a bit, but the 21K, then I wanted to do the 64 or whatever it was, right? 63 a week. So it was a half marathon and then the marathon on a Saturday. And I started doing that, right? But I was always seemed to be sore, right? Then I started thinking the Cameron Haynes thing. That's when that started coming in. And I was like, okay, well, he's doing 21K. Oh, sorry, 42. That's a marathon a day. He's breaking it up 21 in the morning, 21 in the evening, right? So let me just see if I can do 21K. So, but I hadn't been running every day at that point. So I had to almost start over again. So then I started with 11 kilometers per day. So I ran 11 kilometers every day. And that was hard.
I bet.
So I had to grind out the first few weeks. So it went to 11, then to 12. But every week I just raised it by 1 kilometer. So that wasn't too burdensome for me.
Oh, okay. What made you start with the 11? Was it just based off of
I had been doing 10 pretty easy.
Yeah.
So
like
I was
that's up at 1.
Let me go to 11.
Yeah. Fair.
So, and then I shave a week off, the training, right? Because I would have had to do an additional week.
Fair.
Right? So I started with the 11, and then I kept going. Then once I started hitting 15, 16, it started rolling.
Sweet.
Like it started feeling pretty good, and I was like, it's all about repetition,
consistency.
And I noticed things started loosening up more because I was doing it more, and my body was adapting to the running, because I was doing it more. Just like jiu-jitsu, the more you do it,
just think of that.
like you adapt to that function, right?
Yeah.
So once I hit the 21K, I was like, it's possible. I can possibly run a marathon a day. It's possible. Because if this guy can do it, I just run 21, and I haven't been running for a year, and I just did that. So now if you gave me more time, I know I can do a lot more.
You already completed half of it in that time frame.
So in my mind, because I set up a goal to do that.
And you went 11, 12, 13, 14. You went all the way up by 1 digit each week.
Yeah.
Holy moly, wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's a lot of running.
Yeah. So then, so I did that. And that, mind you, by the end of it, I was like, it was a lot, right? So then, so after I did that, and that took a few weeks, so it was almost that was like my prep, and then the 21 was my end, like the fight or the day of the competition or whatever, right? So almost had like a little bit of a drop, and then I had to reinvigorate myself to just keep going and keep doing it again.
And it's good that you acknowledge the drop, because there needs to be some level of rest.
Oh yeah, and
right.
like I was like my whole focus was to get 21K for so many weeks, right? And I did it, and I was like, oh, okay.
That was the next achievement, right?
Yeah. So then I started thinking, and then I started strategizing for the Run to Remember, right? So started filming some of the runs, started doing road runs, longer ones.
So was Run to Remember was it conceptualized at that point where you did 21 a day for a week?
Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious now, where in there did you go, nah, I'm going to do this for a greater cause bigger than myself? I'm involving veterans. It was always there. When the 100K concept was there, it was always attached to veterans. So when I was thinking about it, nothing was out loud yet.
No, it was all in my head.
Beautiful.
I only really started, people around me knew, right? And some people at work and things like that.
Yeah.
But only really when I started messaging it out and made my Instagram public is when I made it public.
Yeah.
Right? And
when your posts just started to be heavily around running.
Yes. Like,
right?
It wasn't so much like last year. You saw I ran on my 43rd birthday. I ran 43 kilometers.
Yeah,
remember?
yeah.
And it was for the farmers.
Yeah, I love that you
I
did
made
that.
a long post, and I was like,
that's where I was like, we need to bring you in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it was just cool to see, where I was like, wow, this is cool to notice that we're not the only people running for farmers.
Yeah.
That's what was really unique.
And it was that whole run, I had a Run for Farmers playlist in my ear. I was listening basically the anthem, the Kassan anthem, over and over and over and over again for the entire run.
Wow.
Right. And, but, that was an interesting run. It was very wet and cold and unpleasant.
It's nice that there's ones where you'll forget, and ones you'll never forget.
Terrible, man. But no, man, like, so that got me to that point where I was thinking about, okay, well, how do you run across the country? Like, what's that look like? How does someone do that? Right? Because, you know, I was following someone on Instagram. I think his Instagram account's Hella Good 9, and he ran across the U.S. and I followed him before I had when I was kind of germinating this concept in my head, right? And he was running across the United States, and I was looking at him and I was seeing his posts and I was like, I can do that. Like I started thinking, I can do that. Like why can he do that and I can't physically? Right?
Yeah.
Like other ways, maybe there's other logistics and stuff, but physically, why? Like I can do that, right? So then I started thinking, okay, well, and then the 21K happened, and I was like, well, then I can physically probably do 42, and then the 100K. So it all kind of just started kind of coming in my head, and then I was like, okay, so I'm going to run across Canada in 2025.
That's when you were just like, this isn't going to stop ever.
No. So I'm setting a goal for myself. Every year, moving forward now, we're going to do the Run to Remember in November to raise money for veterans and first responders. Like just how we just did it, 100K. We're not going to change the routing unless things come up and we have to. But as of right now, we're going to keep it that way. And I know I'm going to need some time, probably 4 more years, to condition my body to do a cross Canada run. Because I'm driven to do this, right? I'm going to do this. Like I know this is a daunting or a huge concept, and probably half the people listening to this and everybody I know, or you know, minus a couple, probably don't believe that I'm going to do it, right?
Well, you'll do it. It's insane, but you'll do it.
Yeah, but
you'll die trying.
Yeah, well, yeah. So pretty much,
or you'll die trying.
Yeah, or I'll die trying.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it. So now, like for me, it's just I want to let people know that this is what I'm going to try to do, and now for me, the next sort of plans for me is to start working towards that goal. What do I need to do to achieve that? Because it's so big, right? Is in my mind, it's no different than the 100K. Because that was just as big when I first thought of it.
That's the thing. I was going to ask you, do you feel like you needed to do the 100K before even setting this goal? Or you needed to know you were going to do 100K before doing this goal? Like, you know, when some people have amazing, great goals, they're even smart goals, you know, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, you know, all that, you know, fun stuff when people talk about marking a goal. But like, where's your thought process on that? Where it's like, all right, cool. You want to, like what if someone in decent shape, like, let's just say myself, ignore my running I've done. And I'm like, yo, Sach, I want to do cross country with you.
Okay.
Like, would you look at that guy who probably going to get a few? They're like, I want to do it with you.
Sure.
Would you look at them and be like, listen, first do this. Like, do this for a month. Then, okay, come back to me if you do it. Or would you be like, all right, great, we'll see you on September, whatever, 2025, let's go.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
do you feel like there needs to be at that high, right? Like buddy that says, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. And let's say you're doing that.
Yeah.
Would you be like, all right, man, you climbed a rock mountain, like, you know, rock climbing thing before? It's kind of like,
well, I don't know. I mean, for me, like, who am I to judge them, right?
That's fair.
Right, because, like, someone can say that individual can say the exact same thing to me, because so like I'm not here to judge anybody.
I respectfully say that because I know that, okay, you did 100 kilometers, you got your reps in. Now I'm sure there's going to be obviously some metrics and things that you know you're thinking that need to be done before you even get to cross country.
So I mean, here's the thing, man. I'm not going to discourage anybody whatever they think they can do.
Yeah.
So if that individual thinks they can do that, go for it, bro.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to ask me a question on how do I need to do it, I'll give you my suggestions, maybe, because I don't know for sure, but this is what I think you might need. But that's on you to figure it out, man. Like, and if you do it, good, cool, right? So I don't want to be like, oh, you have to, like. The reality is it's a year from now, yeah, go ahead, buddy. We'll see you then.
Yeah, fair.
And if you're going to put in the work, put in the work.
Yeah, if you show up.
Now, if he's coming up and saying a day of, hey, I'm running with you the entire way. What, bro?
Who are you?
Right? So we would want to, I mean, I'm talking as if we're already there yet, but probably you're going to want to have to vet all those people before they even come, and you're going to want to have some background checks and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, totally.
Right? You're not going to have random people come join you, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, but...
It's like, yeah, let's hang out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Come on down.
No, thank you.
Criminal record check.
Yeah, background check. Are you going to donate anything? What's going on there? Are you going to pay for your own food? Yeah. But no, I mean, I think this is the next sort of chapter, the Run to Remember 100K, that we can do, no problem. But the cross Canada thing, now all the plans and the goals, I need to start breaking that down. How do I need to do it? How's that going to happen? Logistically, what are we going to do? Who's going to be involved? How are we going to get sponsors? Who wants to sponsor it? What companies want to get on board and to assist? Physiotherapists, massage, like all these things are going to be things I'm going to need to figure out and get assistance on, because obviously I'm not. Look, I don't know all the logistics and what would be required in something like this, but this is why I'm on here. And then I'm going to be going on multiple more podcasts to see anybody who'd be willing to assist, anybody who'd want to jump in and help the cause and the purpose, what we're trying to do here. Because, I mean, it's not, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to figure out how to make it work and do it. So
when do you want to accomplish it?
2025. I want to get, that's the deadline where I'm going to kind of, like, I'll know in advance if I'm going to be there. Mm-hmm. But I think 4 more years of, training, logistics, figuring out how we're going to do the transport, where we're going to go, cost, all that kind of stuff. Getting people involved. I think 4 years should be enough. If I need to delay it or make it sooner, I'll do that too.
Yeah, you'll adjust it.
I'll adjust it accordingly.
Who do you need help from? And this is us voicing the opportunity to see, for anyone listening to this who may have that in their corner or who may be them.
Yeah.
Who can you get some element of sponsorship from that you need now, or funding, or anything that you need? Let's voice that into existence and then see, man, just through you being able to put that out there.
I think ultimately the first thing I would need, or we would need as a team to execute this lofty goal, is the finances to make it happen, right? So in terms of the training stuff, I think I can sort that out. I'm not arrogant enough to think I can train myself to run across the country, yet I did it for myself for the 100K. But I've engaged a group of awesome professionals in Surrey. Their gym's called Fit Nation Stronghouse, and they've been, I've shared my what the goals are and what the plans are, and they're on board, and they want to be a part of this sort of movement to get this done and accomplished. So they're going to donate their services. So that means physiotherapy, nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach, and all these types of things.
That's
one-stop shop for the next 4 years to make sure that we can get this, get me in the shape that I need to be able to run across the country. So with their help and their assistance, I think that part, I'll be okay. Now, in terms of sponsors, obviously food supplementation and
housing, possibly housing, overnight stay in certain places across the country,
a vehicle, like maybe a trailer or a what do you call those little big vans, what are they called?
RVs. Yeah, there you go. Count on 2 brown guys to not know what that term is.
RV. Yes, the RV.
Like, what? I've never been in one to this day in my life.
But the RVs, but also the medical staff, right? Like volunteers who are going to be willing to do that. Videography, photography, like to document this historic event, because it will be an event as well, right? And not only the primary goal is to raise money for veterans and first responders and to raise awareness for mental health. It's also, it's multifaceted, right? So we have a lot of things that we need to get done. And I think, getting the right sort of support and financing is crucial, right? So yeah, right now at this stage, I took about a week off from taking the list of things that I actually specifically would require, because I don't think we were quite there at that level yet to figure that part out. Because logistically, we'd have to figure out dates, times, the roads. I don't want to hinder myself or slow myself down. That's now.
Fair. Let's first find the people interested, and then we can narrow in on a date that makes sense.
Yeah, and then essentially I'm gonna need a project manager, someone who can coordinate everything. Because I'm gonna on the run itself.
There's no way like a fighter wouldn't just figure out all of his logistics while trying to learn how to fight and can't. And like that's why they have managers.
Yeah,
I completely respect with you needing to look for someone who's willing to do that. And that's why, like, for any of our audience members listening, if you're interested in such a story and you want in on a potential project manager role, or are in the hospitality industry for providing transportation or providing accommodation of stay, or if you are working as a healthcare professional or in the video space, the list goes on. If you feel like you can contribute towards something that, to your point, is going to make Canadian history and be something that's going to put veterans on the map and to support you, man, well, you have Second Floor's audience hopefully at your disposal
I think,
to be able to connect with,
Well, like you were saying, like this sort of movement, I mean, there's a lot of elements here, right?
Oh, so much.
So across Canada, 6,000 kilometers about
that ain't no joke.
Right? So 6,000 kilometers, to do that in 6 months, that you have to do 1,000 kilometers a month. That's 250 kilometers a week to run. So you're looking at 50 kilometers a day ish, 40 to 50, some days a bit more, in and around that, right?
Holy shit.
So yeah.
When you really do the math.
So when you break it down that way, and then, but it's I don't want this to be that too, right? I want to visit some Indigenous communities.
Yeah, it's gonna take maybe it'll be an 8-hour thing a day, and then you got another 8 hours.
Yeah, I would maybe highlight some, because with the law enforcement agency I work with, I'd like to highlight some people maybe along the borders and stuff like that. Things like that would be nice.
They're gonna make a superhero movie out of you.
No, bro.
That's what I see.
But I mean, what I would like to have, I've spoken to some friends that are into film and videography, and at some point when we're doing this this cross country thing, I'm sure it'll be documented to some degree where we can just put it onto YouTube.
Be awesome.
Like a documentary kind of thing. So, these are all the things that I have planned in my head. But first step is start running.
So here's what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Why running? Why?
Great
let's be honest. We know it's for veterans.
Yeah.
We know that you have a huge connection. Well, I think it's important for even people to just share your why behind that too, if you like.
Yeah.
But it could be anything. It could be as simple as, oh, you know what, Kenny, for 6 months, I'm looking for sponsorship. I'm looking for people to help me, where I'm going to fly to 100 cities across Canada. And I'm going to let's say, respectfully protest and talk about the importance of us connecting to veterans and them needing our support mentally and financially.
Yeah.
But it's okay, let's now put your body to the test on top of creating that awareness. Why running?
Okay, there's a few reasons, right? Obviously the personal ones, right? Mental health for me, and it was helpful, and then also overcoming something that I never was really good at. But I think also because everyone can connect to running. Everyone's done it. If I was talking bodybuilding and jiu-jitsu, it's so niche, right? Right? So if I were to say, I want to do a jiu-jitsu roll-a-thon for a week or 24 days or something. Yeah, people know, but it doesn't get a lot of traction. It doesn't get the level of exposure that I think it's deserved, right? But I know that running does, because even if people aren't good at it or don't do it anymore, they understand how difficult it is. Jiu-jitsu is super hard, but no one understands it, right? Bodybuilding and dieting truly is hard, but even that, people really don't understand the difficulty involved with bodybuilding.
Very true.
And the diet and the how difficult regimented you have to be. It's ridiculous.
The sacrifices you make.
It's beyond. Yeah. So now running, everyone can connect to, right? So when you're saying 100 kilometers, people can somewhat understand that. Now, what I wanted to do for the Run to Remember was to name the cities. So when you say Chilliwack, BC to the Vancouver airport, and if you're living in the lower mainland of BC, You're like, what? That's holy shit. That's a lot. Like, people don't want to drive.
They've never even driven that much in a week.
Right? So they're like, no, what? No, like, they get it, right? So that was another reason. We could have done a trail run that was so far, but it doesn't resonate the same way, right? And you don't get that sort of marketing buzz to it. And it had to be on the road for that specific reason as well, so people could see us moving, right? And as opposed to a trail, people can't see you, right? And not saying one's harder or not. It's just, it was all about exposure, and all about trying to get as much eyes on what we were trying to do and why we were trying to do it. That was it. It was just the vessel to get the veteran issue and the mental health and the support that we were trying to get. That was it. Everything else was gravy, right? For me to run and do all that kind of stuff. It was all. So that's kind of where I went with that direction. How do I get more exposure? How do I get the attention? And that's what the running was. So I was already kind of running, and then I combined the two, right? I was kind of running on my own, and then I thought, well, I've leveraged this positivity, and then I put them together, and I thought, okay, it makes sense. It all kind of organically just developed. And you're asking me, when did you think of this? When did you think of that? And I'm trying to give you good answers, but the reality is, it organically just developed.
I love that. Yeah.
And so I don't want to give you some answer that, like, I gave you some answers, and I don't know if I want to, like, I don't know if I was being fully honest when I said them.
No,
like,
I appreciate the honesty. Yeah.
But I think, to be like 100% honest, it organically just fucking transitioned to one thing to the other to the other to the other.
And I appreciate how real that was, because here I am trying to chronologically figure out the order, when in reality there wasn't necessarily any order to it. You just knew what all needed to get done for yourself and for veterans and for the whole purpose itself.
And it just kind of started fitting. Like, everything started aligning, and now everything just seems to be really falling into place for me. And it's the first time really in my life where I've, like, had this kind of clarity, man. It's like, I can't, it's hard for me to express how genuine I am at this particular moment.
I love that, man.
So, like,
I really see that too.
How, like I get emotional thinking about it. How difficult my life's been the last 3-4 years. And it's come to a different direction because I was doing something good for other people. So, of course I'm going to keep doing that. Like, I felt like I was in the gutter. And by helping other people help myself, fuck yeah, man, I'm going to keep doing it. I'd be an idiot not to. It's the only thing that I did, other than my daughter, that's been amazing. Like, it's the second biggest achievement of my life. Yeah. First one was my daughter. Second one is this. Like, everything else is like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, man.
It just goes to show that we're all put on this earth for something, and you were put on this earth for this, and it's really beautiful to recognize that through uncontrollables such as COVID. I mean, maybe you can argue that would have this happened if it weren't for COVID?
I don't think so,
maybe
man.
Or maybe not.
I don't know. Like, well, who knows?
As bad as that was, you took a very bad thing that happened in the world into a good thing for you in your world.
Yeah.
And I think we all live in our own world, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
But we need to figure out and think, okay, just because we're one person, we can't keep letting that, I'm just like one speckle of dust on this earth. No. You are one. I heard Jordan Peterson said this, and it really resonated with me.
He's legit too, man.
He's so awesome, man. He's my therapist right now.
Yeah. Honestly,
like,
man,
from the videos
I was watching a lot of his lectures, and a lot of his lectures did help. I've spent a lot of rabbit holes, hours on hours, listening to his speeches and his lectures.
So good, man.
So anyway, sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I agree 100%. It's like, he said, you are someone that will in your lifetime know 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Those 1,000 people will know 1,000. That's going to compound to 1,000,000.
Yeah.
That 1,000,000 is going to compound to 1,000,000,000. There you go. At the end of the day, you matter, and whoever you impact in this life of yours will make the world a better place, as cheesy as that is to say. And then he took that into another aspect of your time you spend doing what you do is valuable.
Yeah.
So he talked about, like, the worth of your time.
Yeah.
And how, on average, he said, and he was talking to a class of university students.
Yeah.
He said, on average, a day, how much time do you guys waste in a day?
probably
and
a lot.
and they're like, you know what? If we think about it, like, well, 4 to 6 hours in total.
Wow.
They don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
So some of it might be unproductive studying, right? I'll just watch YouTube videos while I try and study. We're studying, quote unquote, but for half the time talking, looking at videos. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the other half, the other 3 hours in the day, it's spent just doing things that ultimately could be replaced with something more productive, let's say. So he's like, okay, 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
That yields about, let's just say on average, he says all of you are in universities, you're going to reach a point in life where you will be worth $50 an hour on average.
Yeah.
Some of you more, some of you less
Yeah.
for the rest of your life. So he's like, now 6 hours a day, that's 50 hours, $50 an hour, 300.
Yeah.
300 times 7.
2100.
Yeah, quick math, right? He pretty much said that, guys, each year, $100,000.
Yeah.
$100,000 you're putting to waste with your time.
Yeah.
Or he says, let's look at that differently. What do you want to do in your time to make you feel like that time was worth the 50 for you to ultimately realize that it wasn't a waste?
Yeah.
And I say that now because, man, you are someone who through COVID, where everyone had an excuse to not do anything, everyone had a reason to say, I feel like this is mentally really tough for me and still is. Yes, I get that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to diminish mental health here. I'm not going to diminish the fact that this still sucks. And everyone knows that we're all still living through a pandemic and going through rules and laws and what's happening at work and what's happening with our home life and things that come into way with it, especially during. However, what are we doing to make good change within our current ecosystem? And you're a man, you nailed it.
Well, I think
nailed it.
It was the only way I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't even know what made me do it, man. Like I think I needed to stay active, and I was really struggling with my mental health, like really bad. So like I almost had like no alternative to start doing it, right? But I can think about it. It could have gone a totally different direction, right? Like it could have like I don't know, through whatever grace of God or whatever you want to believe in, like I don't know, right?
Well, I just think it's cool to just realize that like beautiful things don't happen from having a concrete plan. You just start doing something, and it's okay to see where it takes you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's all good to be like, oh, all right, let's just keep doing it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? Like when people like I used to even ask myself, I didn't know the answer, and when people ask me, it's like, what do I want to do with jiu-jitsu? Well, I don't know. I guess I just want to keep doing it and get better. Yeah. And then now I'm like purple belt. I'm in the sauce. I'm like going into my 3rd world championship bout, and I'm like 6 years into professionally competing in it. And I've been doing martial arts all my life, and I'm like, now I know why I want to keep doing it, because I want to be a martial artist for the rest of my life.
There you go.
And I want to run my own academy.
There you go.
And I want to have a room, dozens of people, of students who I can like impact mentally, physically, spiritually. And I've learned how that's helped me in my life through jiu-jitsu, through martial arts, MMA. And I'm like, I want to do that for others.
Good.
But again, that wasn't always there. That was, and I'll be honest, it was kind of like an on and off switch.
Yeah.
There were moments I thought about it, moments I like, ooh, new business.
Yeah.
Ooh, like I want to be CEO of a company.
Yeah.
But I think the whole premise of what I'm trying to say is it's okay if anyone out there, including yourself, for case in point, you're just doing something. I love how you're just honest. You're like, well, I kind of just was just doing it, and I just realized it's never going to stop.
Behavior
but
way
now
to success.
Look. Yeah.
You ever heard that saying before?
No.
So I was talking to your brother about this
What's
today.
the saying?
I was talking to your brother today, and he was saying, and he was talking about a lot of stuff what we're kind of talking about right now. And he mentioned the phrase "fake it till you make it," right? So we've all heard that saying, and I used to say it all the time myself. Until I heard a different way of saying it, and I heard all places I heard it on Dr. Phil. Right?
Classic.
And but it made a lot of sense, right? And if words matter, then these matter too, right? And what he said was behave your way to success. It's the same fucking thing as fake it till you make it. But you're not faking anything. You're behaving in a certain way to induce success, right? So you're doing the things that you need to do so you're not faking anything. So you're actually diminishing what you're actually doing. Right? You're not.
I love that.
Right? You're not. So I don't think you should.
I'm taking that into my team meeting tomorrow.
But yeah, you don't want to so. But that's just me thinking about the word itself, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's easy to say and whatever, but I think it's a good phrase to say. Behave your way to success.
Behave your way to success.
Have better behaviors to do it, and
do it now. Do it now. Don't wait. Do it now.
Yeah. So do it right now.
Right?
Like so, you start running. I started running. And then, you know what? You'd be surprised what happens. Like, the opportunities start coming up, man. Like, I never thought in a million years that a year ago today, I'd be sitting here talking about this.
Unreal. That
we would have raised so much money, that we would have impacted so many people, that I would have a different perspective on which direction I need to take my life in. Like, it's been 180 degrees from where I thought I'd be at this moment in life.
And that all happened out of running.
Out of just putting one foot in front of the other and then just seeing what happens. Throwing caution in the wind and then taking advantage of every opportunity, which you must do, right? So when I saw an opportunity, I jumped on it, right? And I created some opportunities. I created opportunities by just running to start. And then other opportunities started presenting, and I created more, and then I start talking about what we're trying to do and how it's a good thing. And then a friend talks to a reporter, and the reporter is the lead journalist to the Global, and then
love that.
You know, it just.
Well, let's take that a step further, and I love that you mentioned your daughter, man. And I couldn't help but think this, and I want to say it now, so I don't forget. I think it's really important that you say it out loud, because I feel like by doing this, it will happen in this fashion. Your daughter's 5 now.
She'll be 5 in May.
Right? Young.
Yeah.
She's going to remember bits and pieces of this to some degree, depending on how much, you treat it as a lesson for her, upbringing and her future success, right? Let's just say it's 10 years from now. She's 14, 15, and she's with her friends, or she's in school, she's doing a presentation, whatever it is, and she starts off this sentence. I just want to know how you'd finish it. And she says, my dad ran across the country, and it taught me. And I want to know, based off of whatever you wish, because she's going to be, I believe, and let's be honest, your biggest fan throughout this whole experience, right?
I'm her biggest fan, so it's all good.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's like, she is going to talk about it, and she's going to be proud of it, just like, hey, I am, about, my granddad, being the Punjabi champion in Punjab for boxing.
Yeah.
Just like my dad was, a boxer, and, just like my brother, like, just people in your family who you're just so proud of. But through that level of being proud, it comes with lessons that you start looking at your life differently.
Yeah.
So, like if your daughter says this, what would you want that lesson to be?
That she can achieve anything. Really, because that's the ultimate goal, right? You want them to believe that they can do anything. And I never thought that, ever, for a long period of time in my life. For whatever the reasons are. Like, I don't want to speculate for whatever they are. Personality, upbringing, whatever, right? I don't know. But I never thought I was capable of anything. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the self-esteem to think that.
It's tough, and you're not alone. Many people feel that way.
So I want...
A ceiling. There's just a ceiling in your life.
Well, I didn't even know, like, it was so lost. I didn't even know what the fuck I was going to do.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't forget about trying to achieve greatness.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about trying to be this, that, and the other. I didn't even know how to do the basic stuff for a long time, right? So then I just wanted to be, I just want to be happy. What does that mean? Okay, I just want to be able to pay my bills, right? That was kind of what it was, right? And, but I want my daughter to be, and I think she's well on her way, between her mom and her nana and my her dadi dadu and me and all the family, like all of us kind of around her. I think she's well on her way to knowing that she will be able to do anything if she wants to.
Nice. She's got that support system.
I'm not the greatest father in the world. Like, I've made a lot of mistakes myself. I'm trying to be better now, right, in the last couple of years, and I want to continue to improve on that. But I'm also good at certain things, and those certain things aren't like the small nitty gritty day to day type of stuff, which is like just the like domestic kind of stuff. I do them, but I'm not really good at them, so I can't teach her that kind of stuff. Yeah, because as every parent should teach their boy or girl all the stuff on how to maintain your own place, right?
Yeah,
and so I'm not so. I will, to be honest, I mean, her mom's phenomenal at a lot of things, right? And I'm only good at a couple.
Yeah.
So she would be getting a lot more guidance probably from her mom on a lot of these types of things. When it comes to barbecue, I'll be good, right?
Yeah. Let me show you how that gets done.
What I can teach her that no one in 1,000 kilometers of her can teach her is what I've experienced.
Done, yeah.
And what I've done.
And the mindset that it was.
And how did I do it? Forget about, actually, no one on this planet can explain to her what I've experienced and how I've overcome it and what I did to do positive and all the things that are associated to that. So I can explain that to her, that no one else can do that. And I hope that can be something that will be able to fuel her, right?
That's awesome.
And obviously I'm not disappearing. I'm always going to be around and help her with everything she needs to do. But that's, as of today and what the ultimate goal is, that would be what I'd want her to take away from it. Like she can, oh yeah, I can fucking do anything. My dad did that shit. I can do more than that. Or I can do the same thing, or I can achieve something. Like it's not just me too, man. Like it's, my whole family comes from people doing amazing, great things, man. Like
I noticed you featured that.
Yeah, because part of this whole journey is me connecting with a lot of stuff I never did, right? I never gave a shit about a lot of stuff, right? So, but I had time, and I wanted to do research. I wanted to understand, and I knew the stories of my family and my grandfather and my grandfather and all this kind of stuff, but really to truly understand at this age what's involved and all that kind of stuff. So I was talking to my dad, getting all the details and trying to understand. And our family's done some great things too, right? So my great grandfather was an officer in the British Indian Army, right? Wow. Back then, and he served in World War I. And his son, so my great uncle, was a lieutenant colonel in the British Indian Army, and he served in World War II. And he received the Military Cross, and he was instrumental in creating the military intelligence in India. Wow. So in Mumbai, I think it's just outside, maybe in Pune, I think. In the building there, his picture is on the wall, right? So he's instrumental in that. Wow. And then my grandfather was a chief of police, superintendent, is one of the ranks. But it's basically the size of a town, like 10 million people back then. Right, so like he did significant things.
That's huge.
And then my dad's older brother, he was also a decorated military officer. Dang. And then my dad was the first one to leave India, and first one to get a master's in electrical engineering, the highest educated at that time in the entire family. Right, wow. So which was a significant achievement. That's because he left India. My dad's like almost 80, so he left India 60 years ago. Wow. Right? So when he was 19, he left India. Yeah. So whatever England was at that time, it was probably not the nicest place.
Yeah. No,
so like you hear stories, but now at this age you can reflect on it, right? And I can just imagine the shit he had to deal with 60 years ago. So what we're talking 1960, right? Imagine 1962 for a brown guy in England.
That time.
Probably not the greatest place to be. Now you're working in the factory at night and going to university during the day. And then getting treated like garbage at the university probably. Yeah. And then when you get into your master's, you're the only brown guy in the entire freaking place getting the so that's pretty huge achievement.
That's insane.
So like
that's the cloth that you've been cut from. You know?
And then my brother's, he's done great things too. So he was in the music business, and he's done a lot of, worked in Bollywood, and he's done a lot of stuff. So
that's so cool.
And he's had famous songs that were people listen to even to this day.
That's so cool.
So, I'm the black sheep, kind of, right? Like, so, better late than never, right? I've finally gotten to a place in my life where I feel like I've got the piece and figured out some things.
But I also think it's important to recognize that, like, and this goes to show that hopefully it wasn't pressure you put on yourself previous. If you want to speak to that, you can. But for lack of a better term, it's like, so what? It's like, so your family, each and every single one of them from generations ago, all made a name for themselves. And then you put that pressure on yourself to wonder, what about me? Like, is just paying my bills okay? Well, it's not to my, let's just say, it's not the level of what my family did. Yeah. But again, it just sounds to me like I worry that mentality very, very closely related to what I've even experienced. And I shut that door real quick because I notice it doesn't make my relationships with family members any better. You
frame it differently. So here you got to frame it like this, man.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking a negative look at it.
No, good. That's awesome. So I know some people will, right? Like if people are listening to this.
So what I'm trying to say is,
I got to do as good as my.
No, what I'm taking is strength from it.
Good. Yeah.
Right. So
fair.
these people did it. I can do it too.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah.
As a pessimist.
So you got to get the strength from it. Oh, we're made for this. It's in our blood. Of course I can do this. Like shit. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? So I look at it totally different. Like, yeah, and it's a positive thing that they've achieved these things. That means I can do the same thing. Just like Cameron Haynes being able to run a marathon a day. Well, if he can do that, I can do the same thing, right? Shit, man, how long have we been in here?
Man, we've been doing a 2-hour show so far. We keep going.
That's all right, man.
No, but yeah, we'll make sure we wrap it up close here. I appreciate you sharing that. It's important for us to recognize and acknowledge that I'm trying to get better at that now as a host. Like I'm trying to take on how people are going to hear something and how they might take it if they also have been in that.
Right.
It's something that I've been trying to improve on, because I look at it where I'll listen so deeply to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then I'll quickly go, wait, how would someone else look at this? Including myself, right? I'll play on many different hats. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because you look at it as what you just said, strength.
Yeah, I think.
Right. And that's something that gives you courage and recognizing like, hey, family, like that, it hit that close. Family has done this.
Yeah.
Now it's my turn.
Yeah, because it's not some distant individual that third cousin far removed or something. No, my dad and my brother and
I love that.
my uncle, my grandpa, like it's like holy shit, like there's a lot of people doing things. So yeah,
I think we got so much good out of this, man.
Yeah,
I really appreciate everything that you said. It could be another day for it, and if it is, I respect that. I know this has been a long episode so far. Yeah. There's just one thing that I would not be able to sleep at night if I didn't at the very least pick your brain about it.
Yeah, let's go.
Talked about it with Sergeant Seb, actually.
Yeah.
Talk about this with some other guests too. And I think it's great to talk about it with men who exude a lot of confidence or appear, at the very least, to be someone that people want to inspire to be like. And again, I'm playing off that notion of people who've been bullied or people who have developed a sense of not feeling confident in themselves or what they're able to do. You publicly put up a post once that, you know what, even I encourage you to some degree putting up more stuff like that, because it just shows how real you are, how honest you're willing to share. And it really made me realize that, like, damn, like that's something that I never even personally thought is a battle that people go through. And it was something that you felt like you've gone through due to a condition you may have. And that's where I just loved how you were like, hey, like just because I have this doesn't mean I'm not capable of still being able to like feel confident in my own skin and still feel like I could do things that anyone else can.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if you felt comfortable sharing with like how you've dealt with bullying and how you've dealt with that, with what you shared online. And if you want to go into detail with like the specifics of what it is that you've dealt with.
You talking about the skin condition?
Yeah. I think that was the post where you talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have alopecia. And it's a skin condition where it's an autoimmune disorder, and it basically affects your hair, right? So my hair grows and doesn't grow in certain areas in patches and in various ways. So I don't have eyebrows or eyelashes and patchy spots on top of my head. My arms aren't that hairy, and so it's not a big deal anymore. And I'm also a guy, so it's a bit more normalized to have the bald head and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But when it first broke out when I was 19, it was not fun.
Oh, like it was something that happened later on in life then?
Yeah, I was 19 when I got it.
Oh, okay.
So that affected me quite a bit too.
Yeah. Because I always hear it's different when someone's just born with it because they don't know any different. And then it's like...
No, so I had a set of hair like you, bro. No, I had nice hair, everything, and facial hair, like I could grow a beard and all that stuff. And then I had a bald spot in the back of my head right here, and my brother saw it, and I was like, fuck you, man, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I just kept doing whatever, and then it got bigger, and then I didn't know what it was, man. My parents, we all freaking out. Is it cancer? What's going on? Like, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
It took a while to figure it out, and then once we figured it out, there's no real cure. I mean, there's some medications that you can take, but it's topical or injections, and I couldn't be bothered. Like the amount of baldness I have, I'd be pinned up everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Whatever. It is what it is. It's fine. And the post I made was a young lady from Winnipeg, I believe she was, and she someone on a friend of mine on Instagram that I met years ago through bodybuilding was showing that he had alopecia, and I was like, hey man, I got the same thing. What's going on? And he's like, well, my niece, I think it was his niece or something, was getting bullied So I felt, like I wanted to make a post.
Yeah.
Right? Just
I love that you did that.
Hey, you know what, whatever, I have it, and it doesn't change who you are, and there's a lot of people here that care about you, and you can reach out to anybody, it's all good.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, like, I've been bullied for sure, man. Like, I was never really a huge guy. Like, I'm a bit bigger now, but like not massive. And, growing up, I was the one brown kid in my school other than my brother, and my brother used to get his ass kicked all the time, and I used to too. So now, growing up, you get bullied, picked on, all that, and you try to figure out how to navigate your way through that. But, I want to be fully honest too, like, I've done bullying too, right? And, what do they say? Hurt people, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't the nicest either. And so I own some of that shit that I, wasn't nice to people. And
I appreciate the honesty, man.
And I would say things or do things to people too. So I don't know. I think I was a damaged kid, and I was not happy or whatever, or maybe I felt like I needed to fit in and I wanted to pick on somebody because I had low self-esteem, and maybe no one would bother me because I did it. Like, a billion different reasons. But it's not right. It's not good. So, I want to make sure that I don't act that way moving forward and with anybody. And if I do, I try to apologize if I act in a certain way. Like in the heat of anger, sometimes it doesn't work, but you reflect, and I always apologize if I'm wrong.
You own it.
I'll own it, man. Like, I'll acknowledge I'm bad. My bad. So I want to teach that to my daughter too, right? Like, we don't want to be mean to people, but I also don't want her to be weak. So if someone were to be mean to her, stand up for yourself, be fair, be stern, don't cower, right? And defend yourself if you need to, right?
Yeah.
Right. Some people might disagree with that, but she's my daughter, and if someone wants to do something that's not appropriate, I would hope that she has the skill set to defend herself, and I'm going to ensure she does. So as I see it, swimming and jiu-jitsu are life skills that every person needs to know.
Love it, man.
So you need to know how to swim, and you need to know how to do jiu-jitsu. I don't give
I love it.
I don't give a shit if you don't like it.
You need to learn it.
You have to learn it.
Learn how to do it.
Because what?
Learn the fundamentals.
You need to learn how to swim because you don't want to drown.
Yes.
You want to. Same thing with you. Don't want to drown with jiu-jitsu.
Such a unique concept. Yeah. Learn how to protect yourself. Learn how to
create
get
time and
off
space.
the floor.
I'm not telling you to fucking do some barambolos and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying learn how to create time and space if a man is on top of you, and that's if I'm talking to my daughter.
Yeah.
The thing, you could teach a woman or whoever to kickbox, and they'll be the baddest kickboxer on the planet or whatever. But at some point, you could be 120 pounds and a badass kickboxer. I'm fucking you up.
Yeah. No, it's so true.
Right?
Well, especially in some element of a female's fight or flight response kicking in, and then she has a guy literally just like using his weight or using his strength, overbearing you. What do you do?
That's why the kickboxing might be a little bit harder to implement on someone who's overpowering you, right? So I'm not saying that women aren't skilled or strong or can knock somebody out. I'm saying they can, but the chances of being overpowered by a bigger person is a lot higher with a female, right? So but if you teach a female jiu-jitsu and they're proficient at it, they can create time and space and get out.
I love that.
That's perfect.
You read my mind. I was going to ask you, the next question was
jiu-jitsu?
Why do you think, why you started, and like, why you think everyone should?
So I think that's why I think everyone should.
That was brilliant.
And I think everyone should learn, it's just a life skill, right? You should know it. Gives you confidence, right? You don't need to fight, right? And I think it's a good skill to have, the grappling skill, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, whatever, right? Because people grab you all the time, and if you're not used to someone touching you, you freak out, right? So I want my daughter to be comfortable in that world to the extent that she can create time and space if she needed to. I'm not asking her to break limbs or choke people out or whatever. If she wants to, cool, right? But just know enough to create time and space and save yourself. That's it. And I think I think everyone should do that. Everyone should learn, right? And especially, everyone should learn.
Totally. Yeah. Plain and simple. That's awesome, man. Well, what a roller coaster of a conversation,
I know,
man.
We've gone everywhere.
We did. You're going to sleep well tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
Man, I just want to leave it on this note.
Okay.
I find that after this conversation, my my whole anticipation of what people are going to get out of you is you being a very humble, well-respected, well-disciplined, and just someone who is on this relentless pursuit to get better every day.
Yeah.
And all of those components in the mix are what allow you to do so. From you knowing that you're in a point in your life where you could continuously be better at anything and everything you do. I just hope everyone recognizes that no matter where you're at in life, no matter what you've done, you can wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm going to fix this.
Yeah.
And
I'm testament to that, man. I'll tell you right now.
And I love it, man. Like my biggest takeaway, outside of a lot of takeaways of what you said today, was, you know what, you've got a coach for your body. You've got, you got certain things, and it's like even someone like a therapist or psychologist is a coach for your mind.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show, man, that you're willing to now learn new things, and you're willing to also educate, but also be educated. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I'm really big on, especially lately, is, take extra time to teach someone something, but also take extra time to learn.
Yeah.
And I really get that vibe off you, man. So I, as well as our audience, wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Awesome, man.
It's been an awesome couple of days, man, spending time with you. You're welcome in my home anytime. Like, you know, a place to stay in Edmonton, man. Like, you know where you're crashing, you know. And I just want to leave it on this note where we ask every single one of our guests this, and we'll ask you, like, what do you feel like it takes to get to the next level in life? And that's something important to us, because on Second Floor, we bring on people who we believe have elevated their game or elevated their, you could say, persona and taking it to the next level. So what does someone who's listening to this need to do from your perspective to take it to the next level in whatever they wish to do?
I guess if I kept it like bare minimum and like as easy and simple as possible, just be consistent in what you're trying to do. So whatever the goal is, being consistent in trying to achieve it each day. So if that means you're a millimeter forward a day, good. Even if it's an incremental step forward, man. Look, I'm 43. It's taken me this long to get here. So it doesn't matter. As long as you're making that step forward, as long as you're moving consistent, don't take a step back. If you just stay still, cool. But don't take a step back.
Love it, man.
And that's it. That's really what I suggest.
And where can people follow you? For people listening, how can we just continuously follow the journey?
Awesome, man. So I have a website. So it's www.suchinmotion.com. Basically my background, my Instagram's connected to there. My Instagram is @suchinmotion. So if you want to just follow me immediately, it's an open page, and everything's on there in terms of what I've been doing the last few months and how I've been training, and now what we're going to be doing moving forward. I'm going to start posting a lot more stuff and trying to get more content. And man, those are the two spots. And we're going to keep moving forward. We'll keep doing this, and we're going to keep trying to raise money. So please follow the journey as much as you can, and message if you need to, say something, words of confidence, any suggestions, anything you need, man. Like I'm always open to any positive criticism, for sure.
100%, man. Well, there you have it, folks. The one and only Sach in Motion, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks,
I appreciate
brother.
you.
Yeah, man.
That's
Thanks.
awesome.